Welcome back, everyone, to, if you have a name for this series, let me know, our monthly sleuthing club. For this month, I chose an author whose work I am familiar with. We are going to be reading My Husband's Wife by Alice Feeney. Alice Feeney, I think I've read 2 of her books, and then I have watched one of her Netflix series. I actually liked it in TV form, so perhaps it's an issue of the medium rather than the actual story, but I'm not so sure about that. So she's let me down at least 66% of the time. So we will see how this one goes. However, someone who's let me down 0% of the time. I need to give a shout out to the sponsor of this video, which is Squarespace. I have been using Squarespace for as long as I've had this channel, going on 6 years. It's a wonderful place to host your online presence, whether you want to start a blog with their monetization features, you can start a shop. There's a lot of community aspects like connecting your social media and having a comment section. They have really great, easy to use analytics so you understand your audience, who's visiting your website, and they have gorgeous free templates to make your website look really professional. So I know a lot of people who use it like as a portfolio / landing page. It's just a really wonderful resource. So if you are looking to host anything online, you can go to squarespace.com right now to try it out. And when you're ready to launch it to the public, you can go to squarespace.com/cari can read to get 10% off your first website or domain. So thank you as always to Squarespace, never letting me down. Alice Feeney, on the other hand, let's see. She could surprise me. This was actually the most requested one, I think, because people were like, it's bananas. And I'm here. That's exactly what I want. So we're gonna dive in. My Husband's Wife. Wait, did this come out in 2026? What do you mean? Wow. Oh, this is her most recent one. Okay, that's exciting. Let me read to you what Goodreads tells me. So we're reading My Husband's Wife. It has 162,000 ratings. It's sitting at a 4.13. I didn't know that they called her the Queen of Twists. This says the New York Times bestselling Queen of Twists is back. Well, it's 310 pages. We can finish this baby. I've got it locked and loaded. We're not going to finish it today because that would, no, it's 4 p.m. But we're certainly going to read as much as we can. So the New York Times bestselling Queen of Twists is back with a psychological masterpiece that will leave you questioning everything you know about love, identity, and revenge. Eden Fox, an artist on the brink of her big break, sets off for a run before her first exhibition. When she returns to the home she recently moved into, Spyglass, an enchanting old house in Hope Falls, nothing is as it should be. Her key doesn't fit. A woman eerily similar to her answers the door, and her husband insists that the stranger is his wife. One house, one husband, 2 women. Someone is lying. The man is lying. The man is lying. Anyway, solved that one. 6 months earlier, a reclusive Londoner called Birdie, reeling from a life-changing diagnosis, inherits Spyglass. This unexpected gift from a long-lost grandmother brings her to the pretty seaside village of Hope Falls. But when Birdie stumbles upon a shadowy London clinic that claims to be able to predict a person's date of death, including her own, secrets start to unravel. And as the line between truth and lies blur, Birdie feels compelled to right some old wrongs. Okay. My Husband's Wife is a tangled web of deception, obsession, and mystery. Prepare yourself for the ultimate mind-bending marriage thriller and step inside Spyglass, if you dare, to experience a story where nothing is as it seems. All right, guys, let's open her up and see what we're dealing with. We'll read the beginning together. That's actually really funny. It's dedicated to Daniel, my favorite husband. Let me read to you. Hold on. Get out of here. Chapter 1 is in Eden's POV. This is the wife that goes for a run and comes back to her house being filled with another woman. Okay? October 30th. Everybody lies and everybody dies. Those are 2 of the only things you can be certain of in an uncertain world. The half dark is my happy place. That thin sliver of time that separates night from day and day from night. Twilight, sunset, nightfall. If we give things a different name, it's easier to pretend they aren't the same. Like love and heartbreak, no joy lasts forever. No sorrow lasts forever either. And time is too precious to be wasted. So even though it's getting late and the sky is already dressing itself for dusk, I head out into the night and I run. She is giving emo girl. It's easier to pretend they aren't the same, like love and heartbreak. Oh yeah. Oh, that's calling me back. Okay. Wait, what? She has a child? Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. Gotta keep you here for another moment. So she starts to run, and it's cool enough that she can like see her breath out in front of her. And she's gonna run for an hour. And she says, these next 60 minutes are mine. For the next hour, I'm not just the wife or a mother or a woman trying to find her way in an increasingly lost world. For the next hour, I'm just me. She leaves her worries behind along with her phone, knowing that her problems will still be waiting for me when I get home. Ooh, girl, you have no idea. You have no idea. She and her long blonde ponytail run towards the village. She is feeling young and free, but she's also not old. She says 30-something isn't old. And then she lists all the things that she's grateful for, like her husband, her home, her health. But she's basically having a midlife crisis. She's thinking about like, damn, would I have ended up here if I made a few different choices? She says, life is filled with sliding doors and dead ends. And I'm sure everyone wonders what if from time to time. So then she starts running a little faster to try and outrun those heavy, heavy thoughts. Okay. Oh, so this is taking place in England. This is on the Cornish coast. I'm gonna get sucked into this, so I need to make a beverage. Welcome. Thank you for being here. As always, timestamps, tell me who done it and when you found out. I had so much fun reading what you thought of, what was that even called, Behind Her Eyes. You all had better twists than what the actual twist was, because diabolical. My husband's wife. Let's go. Okay, we've got a lot to cover. From chapter 1, I don't like Eden. I don't know why. Sorry. Okay, so chapter 1, we are in Eden's POV, and we learn a lot. First of all, this girl. So she sounds emo, right? Where she's all like, love and heartbreak are just the same thing, blah, blah, blah. So then she goes for her run. She's running towards the village, and she's talking about how much she loves this quaint little village because it's old and like there's history here. She says modern places rarely have a good story to tell, a bit like modern people. She just doesn't like her fellow human beings, I guess. But then she proceeds to be like, yeah, all of the cute little sea cottages now are no longer like the historical fisherman village it was. Now it's all like Airbnbs. So nobody's here right now because it's not tourist season. So I'm like, what a fun town. Yay. She loves the ghost town, by the way. And so as we know, she's getting ready for her first exhibition. It's just like a little local art gallery in the village. Why is it her first when she has told us that she is a 30-something-year-old woman? She's lived a long life. Well, that's what happens when you live someone else's dreams instead of your own. She says that she got married young, and for years, being a wife and a mother seemed to take up all of my time, but now she has time because her daughter doesn't live with them anymore. And I think that's worded vaguely. She hasn't said exactly how old she is. She said 30 something, but she also said like a big birthday milestone. So is she like 30? Because if she's 30 and her daughter moved out when she was 18, she would have had that child when she was 12. So my question is it her biological daughter? And did her daughter move out for something other than university? Is that it? And how old is this woman? I know never to ask a woman her age, but she's really excited for this because she is going to finally be able to follow her own dreams, share her art, and meet her neighbors because they really just moved in very recently, so they haven't met anybody. She's also a little bit terrified because she's sharing so much of herself. She's also just not a people person, but her husband is. Her husband's name is Harrison. Harrison's a charmer. He apparently can just speak to anyone and make them fall in love with him, which is apparently what he did with Eden. But Harrison's got a problem. Apparently, because their daughter has recently moved out of the house, he hasn't been the same. Apparently, it was Eden's idea to move out of the city, but it was Harrison who specifically picked Cornwall, and he does sometimes stay overnight in London because he's still working, but she can't tell, does he miss our daughter or is there something wrong with the move? He's just off. She says, I don't mind. His work is important. I do mind that he secretly sees our daughter without me and thinks I don't know. But the two of them had always had a closer bond, even though I'm the one who gave up their life to care for her and raise her because he was too busy. So again, I wonder, is it her biological daughter? I'm not so sure. And why does he like hang out with his daughter secretly without telling mom? She said she spent years alone at home taking care of our daughter. Things might have been different if she was normal, but she needed me 24/7. And as a result, I'm out of practice when it comes to social situations. And she's excited for this to be a brand new start for a brand new me. And then she reaches like the part where she's going to turn around because it's like the uppermost part of the sea cliff. And when she gets there, she's like, yeah, this is me and Harrison's special spot. They had like just had a like romantic picnic up there too with like champagne and blah, blah, blah to like celebrate their new home. And this is going to be their forever home. They plan to retire there, etc. Their special place is beautiful, but it's also where the namesake for Hope Falls comes in, because apparently it's a great place to jump to your death. There's like a suicide hotline number posted right there because even though it's super romantic, it's also where people go to die. She says, I guess sometimes hope fails. So then she tries to use her key, this very special romantic key that her husband had made for her at their like cute romantic suicide picnic. Her key is not going in the lock. She tries multiple times. She's like, God damn it, beautiful key. Like, my husband probably fucked up. That's fine. She knocks on the door using the fox-faced knocker on the door because her last name is Fox. Her husband doesn't open the door. Instead, it's a woman who looks very similar to her. And when the woman is like, can I help you? She even sounds a lot like Eden. And this woman is wearing the dress that Eden is planning to wear to her art exhibition. So Eden is like, who are you? And the woman is like, I'm Eden Fox. Who are you? Eden is standing there feeling really embarrassed because this woman is like beautifully put together in the dress that she's going to wear to the art exhibition. And Eden is standing there like dripping in sweat in her running clothes. And the woman is looking at her like she is crazy or dangerous or both. Eden's trying to be like, why am I self-conscious? Like, this is my house. I have spent the past few weeks not leaving my house because I have been like ripping up the carpet and I've been doing like insane renovations. This is my house. And the woman is like, yeah, I think you made a mistake. And she tries to slam the door. Also, we get a whiff that she is wearing Eden's perfume along with her dress. So Eden is like, what the? Like, so she like puts her foot in the door so that it can't slam. And the woman is just like, oh, okay, we're going to get back up. They go back and forth. Eden's like, this is my house. The woman is like, I moved in here a few weeks ago. And Eden is like, I moved in here a few weeks ago. I worry that this is some kind of elaborate identity theft, but there's very little of any value inside. There's normal people in a normal house, leading normal lives. And that's when she remembers, oh, I left my phone on the counter. I don't even have a phone to call anyone. And this woman is in my house making me think that I'm crazy. And she's looking at this woman and she's like, God damn, she really, really looks like me. A slightly older, more polished version, like the me I could have been if I cared more about what I looked like, if I'd been able to spend the last 10 years only looking after myself instead of my family. And the woman is like trying to push the door closed, and that's when Eden sees, boom, her wedding ring and her engagement ring on this crazy lady's finger. Confusion transforms into rage. She's like, what the fuck is going on? They start screaming at each other, and the woman is like, listen, I'm gonna call the police. And Eden is like, please do. If I had my phone, I would have. And that's when she lets out a sigh of relief because a familiar voice sounds from behind the woman, and it's her husband, Harrison. He's like, hey, what's going on? Regardless of him being 10 years older, and kind of driving her up the wall sometimes and not helping with childcare whatsoever. He's my rock, my lover, my best friend. Whatever this is will be okay now that he's here. And the woman answers before Eden can. She's like, yeah, this crazy lady says that this is her house. And Eden is like, oh, she's gonna get it. My husband's gonna kick her out of this doorway. Thank God I can take a shower after my run. I can still make my art exhibit. Harrison stands in our doorway, places a protective arm around a woman I've never seen before, then glares at me before speaking. This is our home. I don't know you. Please leave, he says. And then my husband slams the door in my face. Oh my, we are breezing through this. I'm at 10% and the plot thickens. Eden is staring at the closed door, being like, what the actual hell?
This is my dream house. It is my dream house. It's mine.
When she hears a car coming up the drive, like a little bit of time has passed, right? Like she tries to open the letter slot, the mail slot, and is like, time has passed. She hears a car pulling up the driveway, and she has said that their house is like quite far from the village. It's like secluded up on this cliff top, right? So what are the odds? How great that she can, talk to this person and hopefully make them see reason and they will help her. Duh, girl. She realizes it momentarily, but she's like, oh, they called the cops. That's right. So she sees a police car. She decides to duck into the bushes because she doesn't have her phone. She doesn't have ID. She's never met anyone in the village. She's only spoken to the art gallery director over email once, never face to face, which is weird because like she's been here for weeks. I feel like you could have taken a break during home renovation to like pop down to the art gallery and say hey, but anyway, so she's like, nobody knows me, so I'm gonna hide. And so when the police officer gets to the front door, Harrison is like, hey, thank you so much for coming. There was this woman who was banging on the door insisting she lived here, and Eden's hearing this and she's like, I've never heard my husband lie like this. He's really good at it. And then we get their full names. Okay, his name is Harrison Wolf with 2 O's, and Eden Fox. Why do we all got animal names? Anyway, keep that in your back pocket. The police officer takes down all of this information and he's like, okay, can I talk to your wife? Like, since she was the one who was first threatened by this woman. And the husband's like, yeah, no. She apparently suffers from migraines. She had to take some pills to lie down. Kind of convenient that we can't see the wife. But the main reason why the police officer wanted to talk to her is to get a description. And the husband is like, listen, I can give you a basic description. She was petite, 30-something, again, 30-something, with long blonde hair tied back in a ponytail. She was dressed in all black. I only saw her briefly. The police officer is like, okay, well, contact me anytime. We're going to be looking for her. And he starts to head out when Harrison is like, well, there is one more thing, he says. This might sound strange, but she did look a bit like my wife, like a younger version of her. And her voice, it was almost as though she was trying to imitate her. Sergeant Carter is like, hey, and he was born and raised in Hopeful. He's very much like, this is a safe neighborhood. You're going to be okay. Because Harrison was like, we moved here and we're told that it was a really safe place. And now we've got this unhinged lady. And Carter is like, don't worry. You just got the one unlucky crazy lady. Okay? Off the police officer goes. And she waits a little while until finally the couple comes out of the house because I guess they're still going to the art exhibit. I guess her migraine is gone. Harrison leads her to his Porsche, opens the car door for her, which Eden is like, he doesn't do that to me. He doesn't open the car door for me. They drive off and she decides, rather than trying to break into the house, she decides to follow them into the village. She ends up going to the art gallery. She also describes that the village is dead. There is no one in this village. Like, even the pub is empty. Most things are closed when the tourists aren't around. But when she gets to the art gallery, it is like so full that people are spilling out into the streets. It is filled to the rafters. This is the place to be in town tonight. And so she's kind of trying to look around when she hears like a lull in the noise and like a little ding 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 of a glass so that someone can make a speech, and that someone is the wife. Okay, she makes a really quick speech about like, thank you guys so much for being here. It's been so wonderful getting to know you over the past few weeks. Okay. And like, I also just want to thank my husband for encouraging me to paint again, and love you, babe. This is all for you. Eden is standing there like, this has gone too far. Like, she is stealing my husband, my home, my art, my moment. So she's about to take a step into the art gallery to be like, I've had enough, when a hand comes down on her shoulder and she hears someone say, ma'am, I think you'd better come with me. Then we get a different POV. We are going back to 6 months later. We are with someone named Birdie. We find out her full name is Olivia Bird. Why is everyone's last name an animal? I do not know. We are with Olivia in a hospital room. She has gotten shitty news and she's here for a checkup, and she's just kind of sitting there, like the nurse is taking off all of her jewelry and stuff. She's just sitting there like looking at herself in this hospital gown. She's like, how did I end up here? Like, she's got long black hair that apparently wasn't always like that. Was she blonde? Anyway, yeah, she's got long black hair. She's super pale because she like doesn't see the sun. She's from London, so. And she also has tattoos stretching from the top of my right arm to my wrist, one of which is apparently a swallow, a bird, on her wrist. And she suddenly gets a flashback, like as she's looking at her hands, she gets a flashback to her mother. And we learn that her mother has been dead for most of her life. This woman is 40 years old. Olivia Bird is in her 40s. Her mother has been dead for most of her life, but she's still like consumed with grief. And apparently her mother would not have approved of her tattoos, let's just say. But she says, I tell myself that it isn't really her that I miss. It's the idea of her. Fuck her for abandoning me the way that she did. So I'm assuming, because she calls her a selfish fucking bitch, and then fuck her for abandoning me the way that she did, I'm gonna assume that her mother committed suicide. We also learned that Olivia Bird is from Hope Falls. So I'm assuming that she killed herself on the cliff that we have learned is like the hotspot for it. That's just my guess. She says, the sense of loss I still feel seems illogical. You can't lose something you never had. And there wasn't enough love to go around when I was a little girl. Besides, what happened was a lifetime ago. Another life, another time, another version of me. And our memories can make liars of us all. She also alludes to her life of crime. She says that she has a job that like not many other people can do, mainly because she can flick off her feelings as if it's a light switch. She says, there are things I've done because of my job that still keep me awake at night, but I'm good at what I do. Sometimes I think it might be the only thing I'm good at. And why is she in the doctor's office? Because she had to get her like regular, when you turn 40, you get like a free full body checkup. And she went and did that, and she got a CT scan back that had like suspicious shadows in it. Sure enough, when she went back to check, the doctor was like, those were not just suspicious, they were very bad. And she apparently has multiple tumors in her body, and the doctor was basically like, you don't have much time. She wouldn't give an exact amount of time. She was just like, not much. I don't want to waste whatever time I have left feeling sorry for myself. There are things I need to do before it's too late. So she's having a shitty time. So she decides to go straight home into the loving arms of her dog named Sunday, who she rescued as a puppy. He was like abandoned in a cardboard box in the rain outside of her apartment. And she took one look at him and was like, God damn, he's my soulmate. Unfortunately for her, he's also a Siberian Husky. So living in a London flat with a Siberian Husky is a lot, but you got to do what you got to do. Her and Sunday, all right, inseparable. She lives above a bookstore, and so oftentimes she will get a knock on the door, and it's like a tourist or something thinking that this is an extension of the bookstore or whatever. So when she gets a knock on the door, she ignores it. Girl is already in her pajamas. She's got her tattoos on full display. She has just finished sobbing. She has just found out she has not a lot of time left to live. She doesn't want to open the door, but they knock again. Finally, she opens it and she's like, we're not the bookstore. And this old man, this like middle-aged man with his briefcase is like, I'm looking for Olivia Bird. So she's like, who is looking for Olivia Bird? And then she does this cool like whistle command, and Sunday comes over to be like intimidating, and it works. The guy's like, ooh, okay. He says, if you're the Olivia Bird I've been looking for, then I'm sorry to inform you that a family member has died. And Olivia's like, I don't have family. Right? He continues that her grandmother passed away a few weeks ago, and he is the solicitor looking after her affairs. And the reason that they didn't get to her sooner is that they had to do an extensive search because Olivia is apparently the last remaining relative that this woman had, and they had to track her down. He says, according to our very thorough research, you were your grandmother's only surviving relative, and, well, she left you a little something. In a place called Hope Falls. To be honest, she's left you rather a lot. Can I come inside? And Olivia just says, no, and slams the door in his face. She says, because I know he's lying. There we are at 10%. I have no guesses. So Olivia grew up in Hope Falls. So did Sergeant Carter. They're the only people from Hope Falls we've ever met. And then we have Eden and Harrison, who are maybe from London. They've lived in London for a long time. We have the daughter, who either has some kind of illness. I'm not sure. Why does she need 24-hour care and she's not normal, according to the mom? I've got nothing yet, but Just you wait. Oh, I want to get this right so badly. Also, my husband, okay, my real one, is fixing the bathroom door. So if you hear anything, he's being a genius and fixing stuff. Where do I even begin? I want to get this. I want to get this right. Okay, we are now 50 pages in, 16%. I don't have enough information yet, but we have a weird amount of information, okay? First things first, we're checking in on Eden. Remember, Eden was grabbed by the police being like, I think you should come with me, young lady. One thing that is very important for us to know is that Sergeant Carter is so handsome. Distractingly handsome. She keeps having like horrible thoughts about like, oh my God, is my life a lie? Have I lost my mind? Am I dying? And then she will be like, he's got beautiful eyes. Is that allowed? Carter is a really cute cop, is what we need to know. And he's honestly being pretty fair to her. Okay. He's like, I need to do some paperwork. Can I have your name? And she's like, Eden Fox. And he's like, okay, so I believe that you believe that your name is Eden Fox. Let's find other ways. You don't have your ID? That's fine. Like, do you have a social media presence? And she's like, no, I don't do social media. And Carter like pulled up his phone and he's like, well, that's interesting because you do have a social media presence. And there's this Instagram that has been up for weeks. Like, it's not a new account. It has been consistently uploading for weeks. And it is like Eden Fox artist. And it is pictures of her art. It is pictures of her husband, her home renovation. And what's crazy is that these are photos that Eden took. They are on her phone, but she didn't upload them. Like, whose Instagram account is this? These are from her phone. So he's like, listen, so like this lady has an account. And also, remember when at the art exhibition, the wife stood up and was like, I'm so happy to have been meeting you all, like getting to know you all in these past few weeks. Yeah, apparently she goes and buys bread at the bakery once a week. And she knows she went and she met with the art director. And like, she even brought cookies to the police department. So Carter has met her. And he's like, we know that lady as Eden Fox. Who are you? So, after an excruciating silence, he asks, would you like a cup of tea? He's like, this is all I've got. Like, I need to send this upstream. He's like, I need to talk to the bigger police department in like the city rather than this fishing village. I can't call anyone for you. And she's like, well, yeah, you can call my husband, Harrison Wolf. And he's like, okay, anyone else? And she says, all of the contact details for people I know are in my phone. The only numbers I know of by heart are my husband's and Gabriella, my daughter. Good. Now we might be getting somewhere. How old is she? She's 18. Great. Do you want to call her now? I don't have my phone. You can use mine. Carter hands her his mobile phone. And Eden's like, yeah, I can't. She won't talk to me. Now we're back with Birdie / Olivia. We're going to call her Birdie. This is, again, 6 months earlier, she has just slammed the door on this solicitor's face, right? But she's decided, you know what? Let me hear him out. Gets out of her pajamas, puts on something normal, and decides, like, if I'm going to have a talk with a strange man who knows my name, I'm going to do it in a public place. So they go meet at a pub to discuss the will. She also says that the solicitor looks like a saggy boob dressed in a suit. And she also says that just to like make it very clear that she's not to be fucked with, she quietly explains what she does for a living. We don't know what she does for a living. And I promise that if this is some sort of trick, I will fucking end him. He looks scared when I say that. People often are when they find out what I do. What does she do? And she's kind of pissed to find out that she has a grandmother because she was living in Hope Falls with her mom. Her mom abandons her and she could have gone to live with her grandma who also lives in Hope Falls instead of, according to her, at the age of 10, being forced to endure a series of foster homes. And also she's like, when I find out that I have spent my whole life feeling so alone when I had family is nothing short of devastating. She then goes on this long speech about why she loves dogs so much more than people because dogs are loyal, dogs are loving. She says humans, though, humans may have evolved, but humanity has not. Instead, we self-destruct on repeat until oblivion, and we're too stupid to see it. She is very upset about, like, yay, I maybe just inherited a house, which is awesome. But she's pissed because she's not going to bring her husky on a train out of London. And then I think she has to take a taxi and maybe a boat. So she's like, I'm going to leave my best friend Sunday with the booksellers that live in the bookstore downstairs. She's like, I don't trust anyone, but if I'm gonna trust anyone, I'm gonna trust a bookseller. Like, they are the only humans I fuck with. And when she finally gets there, there's a detail that I think is important. She gets to the house, it's late at night, she's walking up to it, she's like, God, this is so beautiful. And she looks at the front door and it has a knocker on it in the shape of a bird. But if you remember when Eden knocked on the door, it was in the shape of a fox. So I'm assuming the Fox family changed it, but just interesting. Okay. And when she gets in the house, something is very strange because she feels this immediate sense that she has been there before. The smell is of her mother. It smells like her childhood. She says, we didn't live here, and I don't think I've ever set foot in this place until now. So I don't understand what I'm remembering. Stepping into this hall feels like stepping back in time. Maybe I was just too young to remember it. Memories and feelings coexist in a close relationship. They'll lie to you if it means they can stay together. Memories and feelings. I do think that Birdie lived in this house. The grandma was estranged. Who's the father? Okay. And then just to wrap this up where I'm at, she is looking through the house, notices a pile of mail. She flips through it. She's pissed because a lot of it is like funeral and retirement stuff. And she's like, man, old people get the creepiest mail. She finds this other envelope that looks really fancy, and it looks like a wedding invitation, except it's black. On the front, it says, everyone knows their birthday. If you could know your death day, would you want to? And the envelope is already open, so she's like, fuck it, I'm not reading, it's not illegal, I can read this. And so she pulls out the letter. It's this long letter from something called Thanatos. And it basically says, like, we can offer you the certainty to make the most of your time. Here at Thanatos, after years of tireless research, our friendly team of scientists and doctors have discovered how to predict the date of your death. We believe knowing your future is your right. Let us help you make the most of whatever time you have left. For a free consultation, please call this number. Terms and conditions apply, and only clients named on this letter can participate. The name at the top of the letter is Olivia Bird. Okay, it's a bit later. We're officially at 20%. Where do I begin? Eden is in the police station. She's finally like, okay, there's one more number I remember. Like, please let me call it. And so Carter hands her the phone. She starts dialing. As she's waiting for whoever it is to pick up the phone, she is like imagining hooking up with this gorgeous, gorgeous police officer. Apparently her and Harrison haven't had sex in a long time, and she's just like imagining X-rated scenes. And who picks up the phone? Who is she calling but her husband? She like tricked Carter, and he was like, used his phone to call Harrison. And she's like, look, how would I have his number memorized if he wasn't my husband? And Carter's sort of like, I don't know about that. And he's basically like, listen, I need to go take you to the bigger police people, and they're gonna hold you overnight while we figure out what to do. Like, you're not technically under arrest, but like you need to be placed on a 24-hour hold. And she does not want that, so she has a meltdown. He decides she needs another cup of tea or something, so he leaves the room and she bolts. She somehow grabs his keys and throws them. She's like running outside of the little police station, throws his car keys into the ocean. She runs back to the house. She's trying to collect any evidence, anything at all. And when she gets it, she like uses a rock to break a window and like gets in the back door. She can't find anything. Things are missing from the house. And remember, she was only gone for like an hour. It's as though all traces of me have been removed, hidden, taken. There are pictures in the lounge of our daughter, Gabriella, various shots of her since she was a baby, but there are none of us as a family. Any photos of me are gone. There is one of Harry and Gabby when she was little, a favorite of mine, but the ones of all three of us together are missing, as is the wedding photo of me and Harrison. And like nothing else, like the keys that she left on the counter, her purse in the kitchen, whatever, everything's gone. So she decides to run upstairs. First of all, she changes out of her running clothes. Her jeans don't fit. The jeans are a little loose. And she's like, well, I guess I lost weight. I don't know. So that's odd. She finds like some cash in the back of her underwear drawer, grabs that, and she sees at the side of their bed a framed photo from their wedding, but it's not her. It's the other wife, even though they look super similar. But she ends up smashing that. She then hears somebody clearly like around the house, so she decides to book it. She heads downstairs to once more try to find the keys to her car so she can drive away. I hear the creak of a floorboard just as I'm about to head downstairs. It all happens too fast. So fast, I don't know whether I tripped or if someone pushed me, but I lose my balance. My arm's reaching out for something that isn't there, and then I'm falling down the staircase, tumbling twisting, breaking. I hear a loud crack as I land on the stone floor. There's an explosion of pain in the back of my head. A shadowy figure slowly walks towards me. My world fades to black before I can see who it is. And I think I might be dying. Okay, so bad news for Eden. What's up with Birdie? Birdie is still walking through the house being like, this is super weird. I feel like I have lived here before. She finds this giant ruby ring, which she's like, wow, that's worth a fortune. And it fits her perfectly. So that's interesting. Also, there's two weird stipulations to the deed of the house, which I think are red. I don't think they're actually that important. Maybe they are. Maybe the bookshelves are. But anyway, number one is you cannot remove the bookshelves because they were made by some like historic carpenter. Okay. And then number two, there's a law that's like no merrymaking in this house, which the solicitor is like, it had to do with like liquor laws. So like, yeah, you're not allowed to like use this as a party house basically, and whatever. Like I said, I don't think that one really matters. I think the bookshelves might matter. They also all seem to be obsessed with books. Like the grandma has a ton of books. I skipped over it, but like Birdie has this whole thing about loving books and loving stories and like, oh, you can rewrite the ending of a story and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so they're like bookish people. Apparently, her mom used to say that books were the best company, and it seems like her mother, Birdie's grandmother, felt that way too. So then she notices over this other mantle, there's more framed photos. So she goes up. It is her, maybe aged 5 or 6, sitting on the lap of a gray-haired woman in this room. I guess that's her, my grandmother. But even when I pick up the picture for a closer look, I don't recognize her face. I wish I could remember something about this woman who clearly played more of a role in my life than I knew, but I can't. And then she starts finding Christmas cards. It seems like they have different dates. Every year she has written a Christmas card and not sent it. And this one that she picks up says, "To dearest Olivia, my favorite little birdie, why won't you fly home?" All the others are the same with just a different year scrawled on top. Tucked inside each card is a swallow's feather, and I instinctively touched the tattoo on my hand. Maybe my grandmother did love me after all. Perhaps she just didn't know where to find me, which is strange. And then there's a knock on the door. She does not like knocks on the door. We have learned this from her. She opens it only to tell the person to fuck off. And she is met with a rudely handsome face. And who do we know who is just rudely handsome, knocking the socks off of all of the women in Hope Falls? And he's basically like, hi. I was down at the village and I noticed that the lights were on, so I thought I'd check in and like, what's going on? And she's like, yeah, I don't need any help. Like, get off my property or I'm gonna call the police. And he's like, that's me. And he's basically like, may I ask what your name is and what you're doing here? And she's like, this is my house. My name is Olivia Bird. His face folds into a frown and he shakes his head. Olivia Bird is dead. Hi, from page 67. I know who did it. I think I know who did it. Want to pin it on a man so bad. And I'm going to pin it on the handsome, can get away with anything because of those big brown eyes cop man, Carter. Here's my reasoning. So I took photos. 6 months ago, we're back with Birdie, and we have just been told that Olivia Bird is dead. And this is when we learn that her grandmother's name is also Olivia Bird. She's like, listen, the Olivia Bird that died was my grandmother. I was named after her, so we share the same name. She died, I inherited the house. Case solved. Good night. Okay. This is the second time it's been mentioned. Currently, because we are 6 months ago, they're talking about how they're looking to hire a new detective. And then in present day, new detective has been hired and is likely coming tomorrow. But for a village that has 0 crime, why are they so set on getting a new extra detective? Interesting. Anyway, but before he leaves, Birdie is like, well, hold on a sec. Like, you grew up here? Because he mentioned in passing that he was born here. She was like, did you know my grandma? Which is weird that she didn't ask. I guess he's too young for her to have known him. I would have been like, have you ever run into me? But anyway, she's like, did you know my grandma? And he's like, actually, no, not really. She pretty much stayed up here. And she had a live-in caretaker whose name he doesn't know, which is weird because wouldn't she be like doing the shopping and like being around town? And in such a small town, wouldn't anyone know? Like, wouldn't the police officer of the town know the names of people? Fishy, you know what I'm saying? All right, so she's got a live-in caretaker who drives a red Mini Cooper, okay? She died in the house, and Carter was the one who found her. How come the live-in caretaker didn't find her? Because she was on vacation, and the grandmother refused to get a replacement for 48 hours. She's like, I can survive 2 days. But turns out she couldn't survive 2 days because she somehow knew she was gonna die, sent Sergeant Carter a letter, basically was like, hi, I know that I'm going to pass away on this day, and I just wanted to die privately in dignity, so I sent my caretaker on a vacation, and if you could come and get my body, that would be really great. Thanks, bye. Huh? Also, apparently the grandma was so weak that she couldn't walk into town, but somehow she was able to walk in and post a letter. That sounds wrong. Is Eden... who's the caretaker? Is it Gabby? Is it... Damn it. I don't have enough to go on. But yeah, the letter basically said, like, I left the back door open, so come on in and get my body. No evidence of foul play. She fell asleep with a book on her lap and her reading glasses on. She was reading Frankenstein or something and looked like she was very happy and peaceful, and it was great. Okay. And so she's like, you really didn't know my grandma? Like, she lived here for her whole life. She lived here for 100 years. Nobody knows. And he said, well, you know, we might not have known her, but everyone in the village knew stories about her. The mysterious woman living at Spyglass. It's always been kind of a local legend. And Birdie's like, what kind of stories? And Carter's like, well, I don't want to upset you. And she was like, tell me or I will rip your face off. And he says, your grandmother was the woman who died twice. This is where we get to page 67, which is why I am making my call now. I am throwing Carter's hat in the ring. So we have just fallen down the stairs. Eden, we are in present day, right? Eden has fallen, been pushed, whatever, down the stairs. She landed really hard on the stone floor, probably has a concussion. She wakes up, things are hazy. She remembers that she left on her run, and then like really slowly everything starts to come back. Like, oh my God, my husband is pretending that I don't exist. This is really horrible, whatever. Then there's like this shadowy figure over her, and an unfamiliar voice is like, are you okay? And it's Carter. God damn it. How did he get in the house so fast? Did he push her down the stairs? Is he hiding something? Who drives the red Mini Cooper? And he's like, okay, it seems like you're all right. Can you tell me your name? Like, how's the head? And she's like, my name is Eden Fox. And he's like, God damn it. He's like, just say your real name. I'm really sick of these games. She's like, dude, do I look like I'm playing? I just fell down the stairs. And he said, well, it wasn't me. She actually said someone pushed me down the stairs. And he's like, I was at the bottom of the stairs. I just came in and I saw you. You tripped and fell. And now I'm going to have to add breaking and entering to the list of your crimes. You're under arrest. This is too much. She tries to stand up, but her legs give out, and Carter thinks that she's kidding. Carter thinks that she's just like resisting, but then she touches the back of her head and there is blood gushing from her skull. So then Carter's like, oh, okay, we'll get you some medical attention. And she says, oh, well, there's some clean towels at the cupboard at the top of the stairs. He climbs the steps 2 at a time. And he's like, you're right, there are. And she's like, yeah, it's my fucking house, man. And she wants to tell him that, but she's too busy running out to the back door, down the driveway, and clambering into my car. All I have is the extra bag of clothes and a map of Blackmore National Park. The spare key to the Range Rover and some cash were all I found in the house. But that's okay, because that's all I need to get to where I have to go. I will continue. We are at 22%, but I just wanted to update you with my first suspect, the cop. Okay, I am just collecting further evidence to throw Carter in jail. Okay. Randomly, Carter decides to walk. Wait, isn't it nighttime? Maybe it's not that dark. Anyway, like, he came up to Spyglass being like, I saw lights on in here, so I wanted to check. But then they go for like a walk. Anyway, whatever. Time doesn't matter. Birdie and Carter go for a walk in the graveyard, like Hope Falls' community cemetery. They're there because he's explaining why Olivia Bird is the woman who died twice. And sure enough, she has a headstone, and it says that she was born in like in the 20s. So it says like 1926 to 1944. And then it says 1944 until 2006. The woman who died twice. According to local legend, is this true? Probably not. But according to local legend, she received, when she was like 18 years old or something like that, she received a telegram that her fiance was killed in World War II. And she like dropped dead of a heartbreak while reading the telegram. Okay, so her family was super rich. Her family throws this huge like burial party, like a feast, a gathering. They cover her in like all of her jewelry. They bury her in this beautiful coffin. And at the time, I guess like because of the war, there were a lot of graves grave robbers, like people were doing anything to make money, right? And they knew she was rich. So some grave robbers dug her up and were trying to get all of her jewelry, and they couldn't get her giant ruby ring, her engagement ring, off of her finger. So they go to cut off her finger and she screams because she's still alive. No one knows why. Her family the next morning wakes up and their dead daughter is in her bed, covered in dirt, but like just in bed. There you have it. Okay. And I guess in her will, she specifically was like, on my headstone, I need you to put that I'm the woman who died twice, because I want that to be my legacy. Also, they're talking about like what Carter does. Like there's not a whole lot of crime in Hope Falls. She says something that I feel I must point out. He's talking about like, there's no murders. We haven't even had anyone apply for the detective position. Like there's really no crime here. And Birdie's like, yeah, well, murders aren't really that difficult to solve. I've seen enough true crime documentaries to know it's always the husband. I'm just telling you it's a man. I have more proof. All right, we're getting to it. Also, then get a scene where first he asks her, like he's walking her home from the graveyard, and he's like, well, before you go home, like, would you like to get a drink with me? And she's like, I do not date men that are 10 years younger than me. And she also was very specific about the fact that she doesn't like to be touched. Like when she was at the doctor's office, a nurse like moved her and she literally like flinched. So she doesn't like to be touched. Keep that in mind. Okay. She's like, no, the pub is closed. And no, I don't want to get drinks with you. And he looks really sad. And once they get to the door, she's like, but if you want to come inside for other like, I'm sure we could find something else to do. Right. And apparently he is like ripping off her clothes before the door is even shut. They are all over the house. Okay. He's got a lot of energy, but like for someone who doesn't like to be touched, an interesting move. And also she's like in a lot of pain. Like there was a point where she was like bending down. She had like some tumor pain. And so I don't know, girl. But anyway, good for you. And then she just like very quickly asks him to leave. She was like, okay, that was fun. Bye. And he looks very hurt by this, but okay. And then we switch to Eden's POV and we get more information about the daughter. So she mentioned like, it was so hard caring for my daughter because she wasn't normal. What happened was when she was 8 years old, I guess Eden and Harrison wanted to hook up. They're busy people, don't have a lot of time. So they were like, you know what? I would like to do this now. Send the daughter outside to ride her bicycle in like the winter. So while they're upstairs doing the deed, their daughter is riding her bicycle and is hit by a police car. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Did a light bulb go off? Police car? And is now, I don't know if she's paralyzed, but she is now nonverbal and is having like moved out of the home. She is living in a secured mental health facility. And we go with Eden. That's where Eden is driving. And I guess like she gets let in. She's like, there was a family emergency. The night nurse lets her in, and the night nurse has never met Eden Fox. So, I mean, how secure is this facility? She doesn't have any ID, but that's besides the point. Oh, and also one more thing about the police car. It says that the people who were investigating, so was it an inside job? I don't know. But they concluded that the accident was that she was on her bike in a blind spot and the driver of the police car wasn't to blame despite driving too fast. Interesting. And so since that day, 10 years ago, Gabby has not spoken. Oh, hold on. I will just say also Harrison and Gabby, as Eden has said, they have like private meetings. And what if she speaks then? What if Gabby and Harrison came up with this scheme to kill Carter I'm getting there, guys, okay? I'm getting there. Anyway, Gabby can't speak. Eden has always been drawn to painting, as we know from her art exhibition. And she felt that if she taught Gabby how to paint, that would help her really express herself. But even 10 years in, she really just draws quite like childish things like animal or a tree or something like that. And as Eden walks into Gabby's room, the one thing she's hoping to find is not her daughter, but is like any kind of framed photograph, like any evidence, like a picture of her, basically a picture of Eden, because she's like, there's no way, like whoever's planning this prank, there's no way they could have gotten in and switched the photos in Gabby's room, right? So she's trying to beat them to it and she is looking for a photo, but when they open the door, she's way too distracted to look for the photo because the room is covered in Gabby's paintings, which is great, except for one thing. There's so many of them and they don't look like paintings by a child, by Gabby. They're perfect, beautiful, terrifying, because all of them are of spyglass, with its distinct curved roof and windows like eyes. I stare at the endless, exquisite paintings of my beautiful but strange new house in Cornwall, a place Gabriella has never been. Gabby was asleep, but the nurse comes and kind of wakes her up, and she looks startled. Her eyes flick from me to the nurse, blinking as though adjusting to the light. "Your mother's here to see you," says the nurse. Gabriella stares at me again, then shakes her head. She looks confused and afraid. Then my daughter, who hasn't spoken a single word for 10 years, opens her mouth. The whispered words that come out of it are quiet and fragile and broken, as though it requires a huge amount of effort to speak them. But I still hear what Gabriella says. She is not my mother. Hi, it's a new day. We're gonna continue. I had the craziest dreams about this book last night. Yeah, I'm at exactly 30%, and I figured it out. But then I realized that the person that I chose as the guilty party in this book was not actually a character in this book. I'm pretty sure it was Charlie Swan. But what is Charlie Swan if not a cop? Okay. Anyway, we are in Birdie's POV. We're still 6 months earlier, and she has gone back to London. She saw the house, took note of it, and she's selling this baby. And she went back to her dog in London, okay? Because she's not a people person. One thing I will say, I feel like it's gonna come back to the daughter. It's all about the daughter. What if Harrison and Birdie are working together to frame Carter, or make Carter suffer in some way? Who is this new detective? No, I'm done. I just don't. No, I'm done. Anyway, welcome. Let's go. Okay, we've got to chat before I get too far into this, because we just got a POV change. All I'm going to say is if this ends up with some supernatural twist or mainly hallucination, I'm going to be, or not hallucination, I'm sorry, hypnotism, I'm going to be really pissed. I'm calling it on page 104. If there is hypnosis involved, Alice Feeney and I, we're done. 4 strikes, you're out. We'll go into why I am thinking hypnosis, and God damn it. All right, so what just went down? We are in Birdie's POV. Birdie has gone back to London. Birdie has called the Thanatos company to find out her death day, because it turns out that her grandma did it, and that's how her grandma knew what day to write the letter to tell Carter, is she got a letter saying Valentine's Day, and sure enough, she died on Valentine's Day. The coroner confirmed it. She is in the waiting room, but there's no waiting room because there's no waiting. She just needs to fill out one more questionnaire, and I thought this was so funny. The questionnaire is listing all these things she needs to write down, and it says, you need to write any and all email addresses, past and present, that must be declared below. What? Irish Pirate 55 had to all of your email addresses? Crazy work. She starts talking to the doctor. The doctor knows everything about her. He's like, can I call you Birdie? That's your nickname, right? And he also confirms what I already knew, which is her mom did commit suicide. They just seem to know a really creepy amount about her. And she goes through with everything, and they're basically we'll get in touch. And the next day she gets a letter, and even though we don't get to see it, she knows her death date. Now, Birdie knows. Now, in Eden's POV, remember, her daughter just said, you're not my mother, and her daughter hasn't spoken in 10 years, so that's crazy. So she's standing in the room looking at her daughter what the fuck? My daughter hasn't spoken or laughed or cried or frowned for a decade. But when the other woman in the room isn't looking, the nurse isn't looking, Gabriella turns her face towards me and slowly smiles. It's the creepiest thing I've ever seen. And she just starts running. She gets out of the facility, jumps into her Range Rover, starts driving. But when she was leaving Hope Falls on her way to the facility, she had already told us that she's driving an electric vehicle that hasn't been charged in a while. And sure enough, it's dark, there's no headlights anywhere. Her car slows down and eventually stops. It is so cold and her phone is so dead. She just decides let me try and fall asleep. There's no way in hell I'm getting out of this car in the pitch black Blackmore National Park. So she manages to fall asleep when she wakes up to a phone vibrating, but her phone was dead. And she notices it's coming from the glove compartment. Why did I forget that word? It's coming from the glove compartment. And she opens it, and there is a phone in a sealed Ziploc baggie that's vibrating. And she's like, what the helly? There is no caller ID. And before she can pick up, the call drops, but she gets a text that reads, Eden, everything is going to be okay. Go to our special place at sunrise I'll be there. Love you to the moon and back. X. And so even though this is from an unknown number, her like special key that Harrison gave her, the key that doesn't work in their front door, it also said love you to the moon and back. That's like their thing. He decorates things in star motifs and whatever. So she's like, this clearly came from Harrison. I'm gonna go meet him at our special place. Remember the suicide cliff, and everything's going to be okay. So luckily it's like dawn at this point. It's a little bit light out. It seems like Hope Falls is only about a mile away. So she just starts running because it said meet at sunrise. So she's booking it to the falls. She like runs through the village. She gets up to the cliff and she's looking around. She can't see anybody. And she realizes, whoa, I came really close to almost falling off of the cliffs. That would be horrible if I did that. I'm about to leave when I hear someone on the path behind me. Soon after that, I'm falling through a waterfall. My body twists and turns and spins until it smashes onto the rocks at the bottom of the cliff. The pain is intense, but it lasts less than a second. If anyone says she didn't feel anything, they're wrong. I felt everything I have ever felt when I was dying. The last thought I have before I die surprises me. True love kills. And now we get to Harrison's POV. It is the next day. It is October 31st. Harrison wakes up. He feels really groggy, as if he's hungover, feeling very disoriented. He doesn't know if he's in London, if he's in Cornwall. He like puts his glasses on. Somebody's knocking. He's like getting out of bed and he just still feels like, whoa, did I drink too much at the art exhibit? But this is like he's more disoriented than usual. And if he was hypnotized into pushing his wife off of a cliff because Gabriella has been secretly meeting Carter. Oh my God. Carter has felt horrible about hurting Gabriella. He has been actively trying to reach her. Okay, Birdie and Carter aren't in cahoots because they only met once the day that they like met in the graveyard and then had like wild sex all over her grandma's house. Birdie has now come back to the village. She's not living in Spyglass. She's living in like a rented room above the pub. Her chapter, there were two different chapters. The chapter ended really ominously of like, it's finally time for her to confess, and she walks into the police station. What is she confessing? She is the new detective. She applied for the detective role and she is going to be detective, like she's going to be Carter's boss. So I get like she doesn't have a lot of time left or something, or maybe she does, who knows? But yeah, she applied to be a detective for her hometown. Also, we get that Harrison feeling really disoriented and there's a knock at the door. It's Carter that morning telling him that like, hey, someone matching your wife's description was found at the bottom of the cliff and we can't find either one. We can't find either Eden. Who fell off the cliff? And Harrison is like very sure that he's innocent. He's like, well, I'm not a suspect. Like they're sure it's a suicide. Like I can't believe she'd kill herself, but like it definitely wasn't me. But in the back of his head, he's like, I don't know, man. I don't remember anything that happened like after we got home and noticed that like that crazy lady stole my wife's Range Rover. I don't remember anything and I'm feeling a little off. I swear to God if it's hypnotism. Let's continue. Now it's DCI Olivia Bird, detective of Hope Falls. 45% of the way in is Eden Birdie. Is Birdie Eden? Carter is still my number one, but I also feel like it's pointing too heavily towards Carter. Am I just following the clues that she wants me to follow? So we get a Carter POV. He is pissed that the woman that he slept with is now his boss. Also, he has been trying to get this position. He's really pissed that his department is looking for like an external hire rather than promoting him, even though he's like, I'm right here, guys. Like I can do it. I can be a detective. So he's a little pissed off. He says, despite advertising for a senior detective for 6 months and finding nobody suitable, my bosses refuse to promote me. And now instead of giving me the job I deserve, they send her. Somebody salty. Did he create more crime, like a mystery like this, in order to prove that he should be promoted? Also, I might have given you incorrect information. We didn't find the body. We had a witness who was walking his dog see Eden, or a person who looked like Harrison's wife, running up the cliff, and now she's gone missing. And Carter took that information and immediately was like, oh, we saw somebody fall off the cliff. Even though we didn't see anybody fall, we didn't see anybody get pushed. No body has been recovered because of the tides the Coast Guard's looking for it, but can't find it, whatever. So yeah, just to clear that up, we do not actually have a body, but both Edens are missing. And Birdie's listening to him, like, because he's like, oh yeah, I went to go tell the husband that his wife is probably dead. And Birdie's like, what? You did what? She said, I get that you're bored, but you can't just invent crimes to investigate. Doubling down on my idea that he created this in order to get a better job. Also, he is talking about Harrison and Eden and how like they really made an effort to get to know the community and they did a really good job on the house. And Birdie is like, oh, really? Because she just kind of sold it. Like she basically wanted to light a match and burn it to the ground. She had no part in the sale of the house. It was all her solicitors. So she's never met Harrison or Eden. She's like, oh, they did a good job renovating? Like, have you been inside their house? And he says, a few times. Why were you in their house a few times? Okay, anyway, she's asking more questions about Eden, and he has now listed, like, you know, she used to go to the bakery, she supported all the local businesses, like, everybody knew her, blah, blah, blah. And Birdie's like, okay, when was the first time that you met her? And he says, who? Eden. He shrugs. At the gallery last night? But we know that he told our first Eden, our Eden who cannot get back inside her house, he told her that he met Eden when she came in to like deliver cookies or something to the police department. Not at the art gallery. He already knew her before that night. And apparently Birdie knows this as well. She says, I know Carter didn't meet Eden Fox for the first time at that exhibition. They met before that. What I don't know is why he lied. So I'm starting to think that he's almost too obvious of a villain. Damn it. All right. Oh, and one final piece of evidence for I really hope that this isn't hypnotism, but it could be. When Birdie goes to Thanatos to do her whole like figuring out when she's going to die thing, she can't stop saying that the nurse and the doctor look really familiar. She like can't put a finger on why, but she gets this like really eerie feeling that she knows them. And it's similar, it's described in a similar way to like how she felt first in the house, where she was like, God, I don't really have any memories here, but they're coming back really slowly. So if she has had some kind of traumatic experience where she forgets her childhood, I just really don't want it to be hypnotism. Watch it totally not be, and I'm like fretting over nothing. But anyway, we're at 42%. I'm on page 130. Now he's gonna go, Carter is going to go interview the person who owns the art gallery, who is apparently called the Black Widow because she's had 3 husbands who have all died and she keeps their ashes in a little urn. Rumor has it she's looking for a 4th. So I read 1 page and I'm back, baby, because we find out what Harrison's work is. So we're getting some like transcripts from Harrison came in to do like a follow-up interview when he found out that his wife was maybe dead. And we find out that he is the CEO of a pharmaceutical and tech company in London called Thanatos. So Birdie's back on my shit list. And now we're in Birdie's POV, and she has just read the transcript because again, she's the detective now, so she has access to all this. She says when she finishes reading the transcript, the walls of the pub fold in on me. I close my eyes and the world is dark. Until recently, I'd never even heard of Thanatos. Now I'm reading a transcript of an interview with the man who runs the company, a company that claims to have predicted the day that I will die. So she decides to search about him online and she can't find anything. She says the guy's a ghost online, a lot like me, which can only mean 2 things in my experience. Either he values his privacy or he has something to hide. A 50% update for you all. After she learns about Thanatos, she decides to go question, Birdie decides to go question Harrison. So she brings Carter along. They are sitting in the kitchen and she's like, Carter, why don't you make us a cup of tea while I talk to Harrison? And she can't help but notice how Carter seems to know exactly where to find everything. Mugs, tea, sugar, spoons. And he's been in the house a few times. Anyway, was there an affair going on? But anyway, also they looked at Harrison's text messages and he sent at least 3 text messages over like the one day that his wife went missing or that Eden found another wife in his house. And the last text is really interesting. Like she didn't respond to any of them, but the last text is like, I'm so proud of you for today, honey. Love you. Sent at like nearly midnight after the art exhibition. But they went home together. They lived together. Why would you text her like, love you, if she's likely sleeping right next to you? That's odd. And then they go and they look around the house. just one more time. And they're looking in the bedroom and Birdie is like, tell me what you see. And Carter's like, a bedroom. Nothing unusual. Then I spot, and this is in Carter's POV. So then Carter spots an old Walkman on his bedside table, and I freeze because it's not a common household object anymore, and it looks just like mine, the exact same model. But it can't be mine. Can it? Because in the police station, they have been using cassette tape. Like whenever he goes and interviews, like Harrison, for example, he uses cassette tapes. And so he has to listen to the transcripts on a Walkman. And Birdie hates that. So she makes him transcribe everything. But Birdie didn't recognize that. Birdie wasn't looking at that. She was looking at the bedding. She's like, on the day that your wife likely committed suicide, you make the bed, but not only you make the bed, you likely changed the sheets. It looks like he did laundry and put on a whole new set of sheets onto the bed. She's kind of like, oh, does he look like the kind of guy that does housework? I don't think so. And then we go back to this weird covenant. Remember how when Birdie got the deed to the house, there were 2 rules. Number 1 was like no merrymaking. And then number 2 was that you couldn't do anything to the bookshelves because they were built by some special carpenter. So they kept the bookshelves, Harrison and Eden, but they painted them. And Birdie's like, that's not allowed. So I don't know. Carter's like, do you want me to arrest Harrison? And Birdie's like, not yet. And then we go into Harrison's POV, and Harrison is like obviously upset that his wife is missing, but he's also upset that it happened when it did, because apparently Thantanos is at a crucial stage. They just found a huge investor. This has been like his whole life, years of endless research, personal sacrifice. It's finally gonna go public. And also the doctor and the nurse, or the receptionist, when she was like, oh, they look oddly familiar, like they might have been in a film that I watched. They're all actors. They are all paid actors that signed an NDA that work for Thantanos. They are not doctors. So she likely did see them on a TV show. But she also said that the person who runs the pub, her name is Maddie. She's like this gorgeous redhead, of course. She loves books. Sunday loves her. Her dog loves Maddie. Sounds like a great person. She also gave Birdie that weird feeling of like, I recognize you, but I don't know from where. Is this the Truman Show? Is Hope Falls the Truman Show? I don't know. I think it all comes back to like her memory is faulty. And also like, just so we have the ages correct right now, we have Harrison is in his 50s. Then we have Birdie, who is in her 40s. Eden, who is in her 30s. And then we have Carter, who I guess is in his 20s. And then we have Gabriella, who is 18. Okay, last check-in before I go to the movies. We are at exactly 50% now. I just read one more chapter in Carter's POV, and I think it adds a lot to it. So Carter is still weirded out that he has slept with his now boss, Birdie. And he says like, God, I really don't do one-night stands. I live in a really small town. I rarely leave it. I'm not sleeping with anybody in town. Like, I'm a police officer. They need to trust me. I'm not that kind of guy unless a stranger comes to town. And who was like a new addition to the pond? Who was a stranger that came to town? If not Eden Fox. And sure enough, he says like, Birdie thinks she's so clever, and she is, but she doesn't know how well I knew Eden Fox. Nobody does. Thank God. So Eden came to the station, as we know, as he has said before. But why did she come? It wasn't to like deliver cookies or say hi. It was because she noticed somebody was standing outside of her home watching her, and she wanted to report it. So that's how they first met, and they like really hit it off. It seemed like she was kind of flirting with him. She seemed very lonely and unloved, according to Carter. She wanted to put up a poster about her art exhibition. She noticed they had posters for the Halloween party that they have in the village, apparently on like Dia de los Muertos, basically Day of the Dead. Everybody dresses up as skeletons, and they do like a parade or something like that. And he was sort of saying like, you know, it would be like a masquerade, so we could go together. No one would know. Like, we'll be face painted if you want to go on like a little date. And she seemed kind of into it. And he is having like immediately all of these sexual fantasies about her. He wants to be her knight in shining armor and save her from this loveless marriage. Then I saw the bruises on her arm. I think he did that to her, the husband. How else could it have happened? I'm thinking those bruises were from her daughter, but we'll see. Anyway, so he is now like almost obsessed. I don't want to make it sound like it wasn't written super obsessive, but like he definitely was like, I want to bang this woman and I want to save this woman. But now she's gone. See you later. Good morning, welcome back. We're now at 54%. So some things that we have covered in the 4% that I have read this morning. We read a transcript of when Carter went to meet the gallery owner. Her name is Diana, and she says that she never met Eden. She met Eden the night of the gallery opening, but Diana is saying the exhibition wasn't her idea. It was the husband's. He came to the gallery one day dressed in a nice suit. She gives a full description of him, so lovely, very handsome man. Okay. Diana had already agreed with Eden to sell her work because tourists love art of the ocean when they come to Cornwall, and she made beautiful paintings of the sea. So she was like, yeah, I can sell these. But in terms of having an exhibition in the off season when there aren't tourists, that's a little strange. So her husband was the one who wanted to do this kind of as a surprise to her because they were recently moving there. He said that, his wife had a really difficult time looking after her daughter, how much Diana believing in Eden's art really meant to her. And he asked if I might host an exhibition, something to make her feel good about herself. He would pay for the drinks, he'd invite the whole village, but he didn't want Eden to know that he was behind it. To his credit, Carter asks, "Are you sure it was Eden Fox you were speaking to when you spoke on the phone?" And she says, "Who else would it have been? We only spoke once. I mainly dealt with the husband. That poor man, he must be devastated. Do you think it's too soon to give him a casserole?" She is the quote-unquote Black Widow who has had 3 husbands and looking for a 4th. Okay. We also get a cute moment. I think it's quite funny that Birdie's personality has kind of blossomed. In the beginning, I think to just make us suspicious of her. She seemed really just grumbly. She talks about her life of crime, so she seemed like she could be some dangerous criminal, whatever. She's actually just a goofy detective. She actually really reminds me, if you've watched Slow Horses, she gives off a Jackson Lamb kind of vibe, in which she's just the description of her eating a burger, she just seems like a kind of eccentric, slightly gross person, and the only thing that she likes in this world is her dog. So I'm genuinely picturing a female Jackson Lamb, which is kind of gross. Anyway, so just for example, just for the laughs, Birdie's office is the pub. She doesn't like the police station, so she just does all of her work from the bar. When Sergeant Carter comes in to give an update or whatever, she orders him a burger, and Maddie, the redhead that Birdie seems to like, when she comes over to take their order, she's like, "Oh my God, Lulu, how are you? My name is Luke Carter." I don't know why Maddie insists on calling me Lulu. Birdie's face lights up like a Christmas tree, and I feel my cheeks burn. So she's the kind of person that is so excited to be able to make fun of someone. Anyway, it turns out Maddie is actually Luke's sister. Their parents owned the pub, but because of a buyout or something like that, they lost ownership of it, but Maddie still runs it. Okay, so he grew up here, as we know. And right now, Birdie is sure that Harrison is up to some weird shit, and Carter is pretty focused on I think we should talk to the daughter. And Birdie is no, I looked up where she's staying. I don't want to give Harrison any more reasons to file a complaint with us, overstepping. And I don't really think that the daughter could give us anything. She's in a highly secure facility. Carter's still well, yeah, I kind of think that we should. Interesting. Then we get a Harrison POV. I think this is where she's turning, and I'm following the road that she is laying down for us. At first I suspected Carter, and now we're clearly supposed to suspect Harrison, but we're only at 54%, so I don't think... Anyway, why are we suspecting Harrison? Because he's weird as hell. He also hates anything that reminds him of his mother. And I feel like maybe I'm reading too far into this, but he mentions that his mom loves fiction, loves stories, loves books. Are Harrison and Birdie related? But he's never mentioned growing up in Cornwall. I just think it's interesting that both of them, Birdie and Harrison, both moms, seemed really in love with novels and constantly talking about how much they love books. So maybe that's just a mom trait, but I'm watching you, Alice, okay? So yeah, he hates anything that reminds him of his mom. His mom liked books. There are bookshelves in his house. And so even though there are rules against it, he wanted to take a sledgehammer to those precious bookshelves. So he decides to, instead of doing it with the books still on the shelf, he starts taking the books off the shelves when he notices a strange lever at the back of one of the bookshelves. It was a lever that I pulled. There was a creak and what sounded like a sigh, as though the bookcases had been holding their breath. And then I saw that they had come slightly apart in the middle, a centimeter-wide gap between them from floor to ceiling. I slid my fingers inside the gap, and when I applied the tiniest amount of pressure, the bookcase swings open. It revealed a door. I told myself that the door couldn't possibly lead anywhere, This part of the house was literally built into the cliff. But I was wrong. All right, we're at 55%, page 167. Let's go. Oh, we're definitely supposed to be looking at Harrison Wolf for all of this now. Okay, so he found a doorway that he just walked through, right? Then we get Carter's POV. Birdie asks him to take her dog for a walk, and she's his boss. He can't say no. And she teaches him a whistle that we've heard her do before. She's like, listen, Sunday's really well trained, doesn't have a collar, doesn't need a leash. Let them play. And if they get too far away from you, just do the whistle. And he's like, sure, great. So they walk on the beach and he's kind of checking his phone because he's been busy. So he's like catching up on some things. And he realizes that Sunday is gone, or like has run into the water and is just like too far out, and it seems like a storm is kind of quickly coming in. So he really wants to get the dog back on the beach, back with him. He's like screaming Sunday, 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 and the dog just isn't listening. He starts like taking off his coat. He's about to dive in the water to get this dog, okay, which is a good sign, I would say, for Carter, when suddenly he hears a distinct whistle. The 2 notes, just like Birdie did in the pub. The dog swims out of the sea and runs along the beach as though it was all a game. And Carter can't whistle. Like Birdie taught him how, like, which whistle he should do, and he was like, got it, boss. And then he like walks out of the pub and he's like, I can't fucking whistle. I hope this dog behaves. Anyway, so somebody whistled. He is looking around, like with all of the noise from the beach. He like can't really tell where it came from, when suddenly he sees a figure dressed in black just on the other side of the bay. It's not Birdie. Can't see their face, but from their height and build, I think it's a man. And they turn and run. Carter's like, what the hell? And he starts running too. And he's like, listen, I might not have been the smartest at the police academy, but I was the fastest. So the fact that this person's outrunning him is pretty impressive. But he ends up losing this person through, they're like running on the sand dunes, and somehow manages to disappear. Carter stops to catch his breath. And he might be mistaken. I think I must be. But the person I saw who whistled to save the dog and then vanished looks a lot like Harrison Wolf. What is Birdie doing? Birdie wanted Carter to like go away so that she could talk to Maddie about the fact that they're siblings. She's like, yeah, you didn't tell me that Carter was your brother. And Maddie's like, yeah, you didn't ask. Also, every single person who, like, every time Maddie gets on the page, they mention her long red hair. Did Maddie do it? Let me read to you this last bit of information, then I'm going to tell you my new idea. Okay, so both Maddie and Carter also talk at length about how losing the pub was devastating to their parents, and now their parents have moved to Spain. His mother recently got a cancer diagnosis, and Carter is convinced that like the stress from losing their livelihood is what caused the cancer, etc. So did Harrison and Carter and Maddie somehow team up? Harrison wants to get rid of his wife. Carter wants to get control of his pub back. Harrison is about to come into a shit ton of money. So what if they finagled a deal where they could both get what they want? Some woman sold the freehold, the outright indefinite ownership of land and any property built on it. So yeah, this like Maddie mentioned that this like crazy evil woman who technically owned the land that the pub was on, she sold that. And so that's why her parents lost the pub, is that they didn't have the money to purchase the land, and some like big brewery came in and purchased the land, and now so they technically own the pub, right? So who is the woman? It's all going to come down. I don't know, man. I'm hyper fixating on the daughter. I'm not going to forget about her, and the pub. How do they connect? All right. Carter had that weird run-in with the person who whistled. Then he's distracted because he gets a phone call telling him that a body was discovered on the beach. And so he goes and grabs Bird, and he's surprised to see that she looks surprised. Like, so far, she has not seemed fazed by like any weird happenings about town, but finding the body, she was kind of like, oh, okay. And Maddie doesn't behave how I would have expected her to either. She stands perfectly still behind the bar and gives me the look she used to as kids when I was about to get us both in trouble. She almost looks guilty. Does she know what I did? That's in Carter's POV. Does she know what I did? But I think he's alluding to the fact that we find out later, like, not only did he have like sexual fantasies about Eden when she came into the police station, but he actually kissed her. So their relationship, no matter how little, was physical. And I think that's what he's referring to. So anyway, they go over to check out this body. So who found the body? That would be Diana Harris, who owns the art gallery in town. She apparently goes for a swim every lunch time. She technically moved the body, like she pulled it out of the tide because the tide was pulling it back in. And she's like, is it Eden Fox? Like, can you tell? Because I can't, and I don't think you will be able to either. And Birdie's like, that's such a weird thing to say. And the reason why we can't tell who she is because her skin has a grayish tinge. She does have long blonde hair. To make matters worse, it's likely that her head hit the rocks when she jumped because her skull is smashed to bits. She has no face. And she also has no teeth. So good luck getting those dental records. Carter is not having a good time. This is maybe his first dead body he's ever seen, and it's a bad one. And he is just like throwing up. Like he's not doing really well. Okay. And speaking of Carter, Diana is like, by the way, like I saw him on the beach. She points at Carter, and Carter is like, yeah, she saw me running after your fucking dog. And then I got the phone call and I ran immediately to you. That's why I was on the beach. And he goes off to like throw up a little more, I guess. And this is when he's like going over his memories. Like he feels so guilty about all of this because Eden came to him for help just a few days ago. She thought that somebody was watching her outside of her house. And I guess he had, quote, other things on his mind. So when he saw that there was a bottle of whiskey in the police station, he poured himself and her a glass because they clearly both needed it. We don't know what other things were on his mind, right? I tried to reassure her that Hope Falls was a safe place where people could be trusted, but I guess that was a lie because before I even knew what I was doing, I kissed her. Okay. The other part of me is still thinking this all comes back to the daughter because there are references that get dropped in different parts of the book that don't seem connected, and that's too much of a coincidence for me. So I will return to that in a moment, but let me catch you up. I haven't read that much. Basically, we're at the end of the day. Carter was in charge of like setting the tent up around the body and blah, 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 blah. He went and he brought the hairbrush. Like they got a hairbrush from Harrison's house for DNA. So he got that to the coroner. He's just been like bopping around, okay? Because Birdie specifically said like the reason why you didn't get the job of detective is because you take no initiative. So start taking initiative. Here he is. But also Birdie texts him to meet her in her office, which is the pub. And he gets in even though Maddie locked the doors. Like Birdie expected him to knock on the door, but he has a key because he used to live here. And Birdie's like, you lived here years ago and they haven't changed the locks? Like the owners didn't change the locks? The new owners? That's weird. She says, I can't put my finger on it, but it often feels like Carter is keeping something from me. Then she has like a horrible pain episode, just because of all of her tumors, and she has a bunch of painkillers, but just because of the day, she didn't have time to take them, whatever. She is like convulsing in pain. He's like, what do I do? What do I do? Picks her up, brings her to her bedroom where she has all of the pain medications. She takes them. He stays with her to like make sure she's fine. And then they end up sleeping together again. Okay. And then we get to, this is the part that I'm like, what's going on? Carter needs to take more initiative, right? And so he's like, fine, I'm going to do some interviews on the side. Even if Birdie doesn't think that the daughter is a viable lead, I'm going to go interview her. So he wakes up really early, drives to the manor, and tries to talk to Gabriella. So the nurse goes in to wake up Gabriella. She like unlocks the door and he's like, you lock them in? And she's like, yeah, for her safety and for ours. Anyway, the nurse is like, wait here, I'm gonna go wake her up. I nod, remaining in the corridor. I look both ways, and now the place reminds me of The Shining. The woman reappears sooner than I was expecting and makes me jump. The reason that I'm bringing this up is that Birdie mentioned that The Shining is her favorite movie, and she was watching it with her dog the night that the solicitor came and knocked on her door to be like, hey, your grandma's dead and you've got all her stuff. Why is The Shining mentioned twice with two people that have never been connected in any way? And Birdie specifically is like, yeah, I don't think the girl matters. I don't think the daughter matters. Just an interesting, it seems like it doesn't connect, but maybe it does. I really don't want this to be Gabriella, but my other like moment is Birdie is a cop. Was she driving the car? Did she hit Gabriella? Who's the police officer that hit Gabriella? That's what I want to know. In I go. The plot immediately thickens, okay? I only read 2 pages. I'm so sorry. So Carter talks to Gabriella. She doesn't talk. So he is talking to the night nurse, okay? And we get a little update on Gabriella's progress, right? The night nurse is sort of like, yeah, honestly, I don't think it was a good idea for her family to have like she was homeschooled. She just stayed kind of separate from everybody, didn't get really professional help. It was just Eden, her mother, looking after her. And the nurse was kind of like, I don't think that was a great idea, because now that she's here, she's been here for 6 months. She's making a lot of improvements. Like, she's eating 3 meals a day. She's gained a lot of healthy weight. She's been painting more. She can go on supervised walks by herself. And she's been working with her day nurse, Mary, and she's even speaking now. Like, she speaks in whispers, and very rarely, but Mary has been keeping a journal of it, and it seems like really good progress. Carter's really interested in this. He really, really wants to talk to her. And luckily, Mary arrives, because he got there at like 6 a.m. So it's the changing of the shifts. The day nurses are arriving. And so the night nurse is like, oh, you're just in time. Like, Mary's arriving. Carter peers out the window where Ingrid is pointing, and I see another woman dressed in the white uniform. But I recognize this woman, and her name isn't Mary. It's Eden. Remember how earlier Eden had mentioned that her husband was having like secret meetings with her daughter? She didn't feel hurt because she knows that they have a much closer relationship than Eden and Gabriella ever had. But what if he wasn't meeting his daughter? What if he was meeting Mary? Interesting. I also wonder, like, here's another just weird tidbit, that Birdie had long black hair. Like, that's one of the first things that we learn about her, is she has long black hair. And then as we are introduced to Gabriella, she's also introduced as having long black hair and very pale skin. Like, she's described as looking exactly like Birdie, which is another just like interesting thing. I think that Maddie and Carter are up to no good, but I don't think it's actually related to the murder of Eden. I'm gonna take them off of my list, maybe. We're at 70%. And a detail that I forgot, something that I put on the back burner and sort of forgot about, is, well, let's start at the beginning, shall we? This is just like a really short chapter, but Birdie is trying to get a hold of Carter, and her messages are going to voicemail. She doesn't leave messages, so she's like, keeps hanging up. And when Maddie comes to open the pub, she's like, hey, Carter, yeah, I haven't been able to get a hold of Carter. And because she has now slept with him twice, she kind of tentatively to Maddie is like, so he doesn't have like a girlfriend keeping him up at night or anything, like distracting him, does he? And she's like, no, oh my God, no jealous girlfriends to worry about, just his wife. Interesting. I'm sure it's going to be like he's married to his job or something, but that's where her chapter ends. And then we go back to Carter and we learn more about Mary. So as he sees Eden/Mary walking in, he starts asking the night nurse as many questions as he can before she arrives. And he's basically like, tell me about Mary. What's up? And also, like, why can't Gabriella's 18? Why can't she live by herself? And she explains, like, listen, she seems to be kind of stuck as an 8-year-old. Like, she's stuck ever since the accident happened. She has not aged. So, like, if she sees a mirror, she doesn't recognize herself. But if she sees a photo of herself when she's 8 years old or younger, she recognizes herself. Anyway, so who is Mary? Mary has not been working for us very long because she came to work here after her former employer died. Who's her former employer? Birdie's grandma. Remember who I was like, who's the caretaker? Who drives the little red Mini Cooper? Mary. Yep. And apparently they're always short-staffed and they needed help. And she did great on her first day. And like Gabriella really connected with her. And so far so good. Everything's peachy. At first, nobody believed Mary when she said that Gabriella started talking, and she apparently had to start recording her on the old Walkman that she has to prove to us, because Gabriella would only talk like when her and Mary were alone. And what did Carter see on the bedside table when they were looking in Harrison's bedroom? An old Walkman, right? Harrison and Mary likely having an affair, okay? Or Mary gave it to Harrison to listen to so that he could listen to his daughter while he was home. It could be either, okay? And then just like a random tidbit, the night nurse is like, and honestly, the first time I heard Gabriella whispering, it gave me goosebumps. I'm guessing her vocal cords are damaged after so many years of not being used. So the sound that comes out is a little bit creepy. And when Harrison finally hears it, it is an eerie, broken sound. It's so quiet that it's barely audible, but the raspy words wheeze out of her body. And when I hear what she has to say, it sends a chill down my spine. She whispers, run, rabbit, run, run, run. And that is when Mary walks into the room. She looks at Gabriella, she looks at Carter, and then she runs. Also, like, Gabriella is still painting pictures of Spyglass, the house, and she has painted a fox and a wolf next to the most recent house. So interesting. And then our very last thing is we get a transcript with old Stu, who is the man who saw Eden running up the cliff. He's the one with the dog. He saw Eden, or like a woman with blonde hair, because he's never seen Eden before. He saw a woman with blonde hair running up the cliff, looking really distraught, looking like she had been crying. He said hello. She didn't even acknowledge him, which he thought was rude. And he did not see her jump. She just saw her run. And then usually you can have like a clear view all the way to the cliff top, but she just kind of disappeared. And then he mentions one key piece of information we didn't get. He's like, well, you could ask the other lady, maybe she saw her. And Carter's like, what other lady? He says, I told you, there was another woman who ran up the hill after her. She's far more likely to have seen what happened than me. Why don't you go bother her instead? So who was the next woman? Was it Eden and other Eden? Was it Eden and Maddie? Was it Eden and Gabriella? Who knows? 70%. How many more pages do I have? I've got like 94 pages left. Carter tries to chase Mary after she runs. She gets away. He like jumps in front of her car, the red Mini Cooper, assuming that she's not going to run him over, but she totally won the game of chicken and he had to jump out of the way. She's gone. And the people at the manor are like, no, we do like thorough background checks of people. Like, her name is Mary Kendall. She is who she says she is. What the hell are you doing? Okay, so we have that. Next up, Birdie goes to talk to old Stu because she had just read his statement or whatever, the transcript. And he seems very confused. He's like, I never said that I saw a second woman. And Birdie is like, huh. And that's what we need to remember, that these transcripts are what Carter listens to the recordings and he writes down for Birdie. So technically, Birdie never heard those words come out of Stu's mouth. Carter could have changed the transcript, right? And so she wonders, did old Stu forget what he saw, or did Carter make up what he said in the transcript? And he does say that Stu gets really confused and he like hasn't talked to Birdie about that, but he seems like Stu does seem like a crazy old man, or is he? But this is where I'm like, I want to bring up something that I brought up in the very beginning, which is that I don't think Eden is Gabriella's biological mother. I think that Eden might have been the stay-at-home help, but she keeps calling Gabriella her daughter, but I think it might have been like an adopted daughter. Just let me tell you why. I just think that there's some weird wording going on specifically in this chapter, where he's talking about when Gabriella got in the accident. I should have been able to trust Eden to look after our little girl. Gabriella's mother was always too distracted to properly care for our child. Her head was elsewhere, and I should have done more to make sure she was being properly looked after. Then he says something like, Eden was inconsolable. Gabriella's mother blamed herself for all of it, but it was my fault. Trusting Eden in the first place was my biggest mistake. So it sure sounds like he's talking about two different people, right? Eden and then Gabriella's mother. Just saying. Hello there. I was wrong about some things and I come to you with my tail between my legs. So Carter does have a wife. Fuck you. Yeah, so I guess he had like a drunken one night stand and that girl got pregnant and he was raised to do the right thing, and so he got married and he loves his baby girl, which this is just a weird side note, but Eden, her whole thing is like stars. It's subtle, but it's still there. She wears like a sweater with stars. She has like that key that was decorated in stars and it said like, I love you to the moon and back. And Carter's daughter is named Starin, which is like Cornish for meaning stars. So is that just a weird coincidence? Why would that be added in there? You know, but some really quick things, because things are moving really quickly. We get a bunch of different POVs. Harrison is talking about his regrets, how much he wants to help his little girl, blah, blah, blah. And he mentions something about how like he invested everything into building Thantanos, to making something of my life. And now I fear I might lose it all. Everything I've worked so hard for and the sacrifices I've made along the way, they'll have been for nothing, all because of one mistake. A kiss between two people who should have known better. Jealousy gives birth to monsters, and that is what I have become. So the kiss between two people, is he talking about Carter and Eden, or is he talking about him kissing someone else? We also get something else that's important. Birdie interviews Maddie, and Maddie is like really defensive, and she says basically, Hope Falls is our home. It always has been and always will be. Other folks can come and go, but the people who live in this village stick together. I think the village people are in cahoots, because also Old Stu, Kath, Maddie, Carter also kind of wasn't there except to grab Eden. Nobody was at the art exhibition. Like, everyone we've interviewed from the village was not at the art exhibition, but the exhibition was packed with people. But also, this village is a ghost town because there's no tourists right now. So, okay? I don't know about that. Anyway, then he goes home, and he was just suspended because Harrison found out that he went and talked to Gabriella. Harrison's pissed. He runs into the police station. He starts yelling at Birdie. And when Carter comes in, Birdie is like, you're suspended. We learn that she did this basically just to make Harrison calm down. She also yelled at Harrison and was like, hey, kind of weird that like everyone in the village is interested in the identity of the body that we found, but like funny that the husband who has a missing wife hasn't been answering our calls. Birdie has literally gone to the house and like been knocking on the door and he won't answer. Does that feel like a concerned husband? But yeah, technically Carter is suspended, and so he like goes home. He's feeling really not good when his wife, Jane, by the way, is like, hey, why don't you freshen up because we're about to have dinner with your boss. Because Carter wasn't answering his phone, Birdie stopped over at his house and had a nice little chat with his wife, and Jane invited her over for dinner. And so they're gonna have lasagna. His boss that he is sleeping with and his wife and baby all together, sharing a meal. How great. And while Jane takes a moment to go get the baby started crying. So she like goes and gets the baby. Birdie is like, okay, I didn't have time to ask you though. Like, did you actually learn anything when you went to see Gabriella, or was that a waste of time? Like I thought it was going to be. And it wasn't, as we know, because since they have the employee records, he managed to get a printout picture of this Mary. And he then Googles Eden Fox artist, pulls up the Google images, holds them next to each other. These are the same person. And Birdie is like, oh my God, he's actually good at his job. And Carter says, I think that Mary pretended to be Eden while she befriended people in the village. I think Mary was pretending to be her at the art thingy, blah, 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 blah. And this is why I think what Maddie says is important. Mary has been a live-in caretaker for that woman for years. And so she had to have gone to the shops prior to Eden moving here, right? So the town should know Mary separate from Eden. She is caring for the woman up the hill, and she's in charge of getting the groceries and in charge of getting the mail from the post office and things like that. She has had face-to-face interactions with the Hope Falls people before. Are they protecting Mary? All right, we're at 80%. I'm going to take a break for lunch, but let me have you all caught up. So Harrison admits to everything. He fell in love with Mary. He met her on one of his meetings with Gabriella, fell in love with her and was like, oh my God, she saved my little girl. And he realized like, oh, Eden never did anything right. Like the way that Mary treats my daughter, who is the love of his life, is just so amazing. And she's just so smart and she's so capable and blah, blah, blah. They fall in love. And he like convinced her to pretend to be his wife. There was like this whole scheme that they had going on. She was the one who Carter kissed. She went to Carter to like tell this whole story. And that kiss is what confirmed to Harrison that he really loves Mary. And they have this whole plan to like run away together. Initially, they were going to just try and live in Hope Falls, but I guess that fell apart because people saw that Eden died. Now they have to run away. So he is packing his bags, getting ready to go. Mary is very flustered by the whole Carter incident that she's texting him nonstop, being like, I'm coming back. We need to talk. Why aren't you answering me? I need to meet you. So she drives her little red Mini Cooper right back to Hope Falls. Also, today is November 1st, so it is the Day of the Dead parade. So as night falls, everybody is going to be in costumes and parading, and it's like the busiest night of the year. And they decide that with this new information, Birdie and Carter need to go talk to Harrison ASAP because they're obviously thinking he's gonna run. Like at all signs point to him, we gotta get to him ASAP. So as they're heading through the village and they're seeing all the festivities, one thing to notice is that the pub is closed. And Carter thinks that's really weird because that's supposed to be their busiest night of the year. Where's Maddie? Why isn't the pub open? When they get to Spyglass, sure enough, there's a red Mini Cooper parked like right in front. But also Diana Harris, the art gallery owner, comes out of the house looking real smug because I guess she just brought Harrison a like sympathy casserole because that's her shtick. Okay, so there's that. And then they go in to talk to Harrison. At first he's like, I want to see my solicitor, like I'm not speaking to you without a lawyer. But then he like quickly changes his tune when Birdie is like, we know about Mary, we have enough to arrest you, da 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 da. He's like, okay, come in. Carter is like, I don't know about this, boss. Like, this seems really weird that he switched. He's welcoming us into his home. Like, this sounds really dangerous. I don't like this. But in they go. And we learn some very important information. So he hates this house. Why does Carter hate this house? Because confirmed, Birdie's grandmother, who lived here, she is the one who sold the land that the pub is on. So it turns out that as her grandmother got older, she needed live-in care. But even though they were super rich at one point, she didn't have enough money to afford live-in care by herself now. So it was either sell Spyglass, sell her home, or sell the pub. And she chose, obviously, to sell the pub. He says, that woman never worked a day in her life, and her greed cost my family everything. She said that Spyglass was her home, so she could never sell it, but didn't seem to mind selling ours. I tried to talk to her myself, but she wouldn't even open the door. She said she didn't have a choice about selling the pub, but life is all about choices. I guess sometimes so is death. Old Mrs. Bird made the wrong choice. Then she died. Did Carter and Maddie kill Birdie's grandma? Yes. Okay. Click. Everybody's in on it. So Harrison meets Mary, and Mary is helping Maddie and Carter kill the grandma. And she uses the letter that the grandma wrote as sort of an alibi. Because remember, Mary was on vacation. Her death is like solidified by Fantanos giving her like her death day. Okay. That's how I'm connecting the dots right now. Then we get a phone call that kind of interrupts every train of thought, or a text from the coroner basically saying that the DNA that they compared with the hairbrush and the DNA with the body they found, it's inconclusive. And that either means that the hairbrush was Mary's or the body might not be Eden. Which one is it? I don't know. 80%, I'm going to eat, and then we're going to dive right back in and we're going to solve this mystery. 45 pages left. And yup. I knew it would all come back to that damn police car. All right, what do I have to tell you? So they are questioning Harrison, right? They have just heard that the DNA doesn't match, whatever. And so Harrison is like, see, you've got to let me go. Like, it doesn't look like my wife is dead. And Carter's like, well, they're still going to try and find dental records. And Harrison says, well, good luck with that. She didn't have any teeth left. And Carter's like, how did you know that? Like, they've been trying to reach him ever since they found the body. They've been trying to get in contact with him, and they never got in contact. So funny he knows that. Could Diana, who was just there, have told him this? Maybe, but likely he already knew, okay? They start screaming at each other. Eventually, Birdie is just like, okay, Carter, calm down. Harrison, you're under arrest. If nothing else, for like intimidating a police officer and for, just being a pill. So she puts him in handcuffs, and Harrison can't help but think, he's like, God, Fantanos told her how little time she has left, and this is how she chooses to spend it? And then Birdie notices a picture that Harrison has just put up. He made sure to take out any photo with Eden in it, and he replaced them with just more pictures of Gabriella, right? It's an old photo. I only just put it up. Gabriella was 8 when it was taken, just before her accident. I see the detective stop and stare at the picture as though she's seen a ghost, because she recognizes my little girl, just like I knew she would. So yes, Birdie had just joined the police force. She had just gotten a promotion. So now she was a junior detective. She was really excited. She was off duty, and she went to the pub with a bunch of her friends, and she was a little tipsy. But when a call comes in for a missing child, it's all hands on deck. So she thought she was sober enough to, and she was the closest to the scene. So she thought she was sober enough to do this. It's raining. It's in the middle of a storm. She drives into the neighborhood. She gets a call on her phone, looks down at her phone to answer it. And when she looks up, she runs over Gabriella. The bike is under her car. Gabriella is thrown into the street. And that's how she lost all of her friends, all of her family. Nobody talks to her anymore. I don't know how she kept her job. Driving under the influence and almost killing the child that you're searching for, and you're just a junior detective? That's crazy. But anyway, and then I didn't mention this, but Carter messaged headquarters like the other, like the larger city police that he technically answers to, because he's never been suspended before. And back when Birdie told him he was suspended, even though technically he wasn't, she was just saying that in front of Harrison, he was really worried about like, oh my God, am I going to get paid? Like I have a baby. So he messaged headquarters and was like, hey, can DCI Olivia Bird suspend me? Like, does she have the right? And like, if she does, what does that mean? And he gets a message back. Hey Carter, long time no speak. Yeah, DCI Olivia Bird can't suspend you. She doesn't work for the police anymore. She took early retirement from her job in London a few months ago. HQ are still looking for a detective to work in your patch. No one except you has even applied. Nobody wants the job. You okay, mate? She just waltzed into the police station and was like, hey, I'm your new boss. And he was like, okay. He never checked with anybody. What did I say? 45 pages left. We are now on November 2nd. Also, her car, Mary's car, is parked in front of the house. So where is she while all this is going on? Where's Maddie? And I do think it's all going to come down to like this village is protecting their own. Maybe there's two separate things that have kind of joined together here. Harrison wants... No, I'm done. We got 30 pages left. I'm going to have to live react to it. So things that we know that became really obvious really quickly. Birdie's death date that she received from Thanatos is November 2nd. Which is today. But then we switched to Carter's POV. Because he was fighting with Harrison, Birdie sent him to like go stand in a different part of the house while she like arrested Harrison. And when he gets the text being like, yeah, Birdie isn't your boss, Carter's like, well, then she can't tell me what to do. So he goes to find them and they have disappeared. He ends up in the library. He looks at the creepy bookshelf. And this is the second time this happened to Harrison as well. Now to Carter. Frankenstein falls off of the bookshelf. He goes to put it back on the shelf when he notices the lever, pulls the lever, opens the door. He goes into the tunnel. He doesn't find out where it goes because as soon as I step inside, I feel a sharp blow to my head. My vision blurs, I'm unsteady on my feet, and I fall to the floor. Seconds later, my world fades to black. I think the person who hit him is either Mary or Birdie, likely Birdie, and she was hiding. Then we switch to Harrison. Harrison is loading suitcases into the Mini Cooper. He can't take his Porsche to run away because apparently the police will be looking for him. So he takes the red Mini Cooper. Where is Mary? We don't know, but one of his suitcases is certainly heavier than the other one, and he struggles to fit it in the Mini Cooper. He's driving to the manor. He's driving to pick up Gabriella, and he's thinking about his life and how he has spent it and things like that. He also says that he did not kill his wife in his head, in his POV. He's like, I killed other things, but I didn't kill Eden. Killed his company because he just sold it for a bunch of money. He also said it doesn't really work. Like he kept entering his own information and it always gave him a different day. And it also didn't give him the day that he got a heart attack and he was technically dead for 10 minutes. And that's kind of what sparked their move. Anyway, is like he had a heart attack from stress. And there you go. He sold that company a little earlier than he wanted to, but he still sold it. And now he's going to like run away with his daughter and they're going to just have this wonderful family life. Okay. So as he's driving to the manor, he gives them a call and he's basically like, hey, I need you guys to pack up my daughter's things, get her ready. I'm coming to collect her. And they're like, it's really late, sir. And he's like, I don't care. Get my daughter ready. And he hangs up. And then 5 minutes later, they call back. And they're like, hi, Mr. Wolf. I'm just calling you back from the manor. Yeah, we can't find your daughter. And he's like, what? Yeah, she's not in her room. It's after midnight. Where would she be? You lock her doors. Go look again. I hang up and grip the steering wheel when I feel a small, cold hand on my shoulder and a female voice whispers, I love you to the moon and back. All right, we are in Carter's POV, and sure enough, it was Birdie who hit him. And apparently he's bleeding a lot, so Birdie's trying to take care of him. She's like, just stop asking me questions. Like, don't ask if I'm your boss. Let me just get you fixed up. And he's like, well, what about Mary? And she says, you don't need to worry about Mary. She lived and worked in this house for almost... No. Not going to get ahead of myself. She lived and worked in this house for almost 20 years, caring for my grandmother. She dressed her, fed her, cooked for her, cleaned for her, barely earning minimum wage, and all on the promise of one day inheriting this place when her employer died. But it took longer than either of them expected. And when it did, Mary wasn't too happy about my grandmother's will, saying that Spyglass had been left to someone else. Mary wanted what she believed was hers, and that's why she went to work at the manor, to get closer to the family who now owned this house. Gabriella and Harrison had no idea about her true motivations until she had already befriended them. them. And Carter is like, yeah, I did not follow any of that. And Birdie's like, don't worry, it's fine. So Mary was expecting to inherit the house. When she didn't, and she saw that Birdie then sold it to Harrison, went to, you guys are smart, I don't need to, sorry. And Carter's like, wait, when did Mary tell you this? She's like, just now, before she left. Funny how life gives you the answers to questions you didn't know how to ask. Follow the sound of the sea. You'll be fine. And then she goes into the library, and when Carter feels better, he's supposed to follow the sound of the sea and head down the tunnel to the other side of the cliff. Now we have Birdie's POV. When she closes the secret door, Carter shouts at her. He's just like, Birdie, can I ask you a question? What the fuck? And she's like, listen, I told you to go follow the sound of the sea. You'll be fine. And he says, you're not my boss. You're not my anything. And where's my phone? Birdie said, oh, you don't need it. Don't worry. I took it. It's fine. And she says, anyway, I have a date with death. Then we flash back to 6 months earlier. This is right when she gets the letter telling her the day of her death, and she is losing her shit. She's thinking about what she wants to do, and interestingly, she does want to leave London, but she says that she certainly has no intention of going back to Hope Falls. That's the last place I'd want to spend my final days. But she has someone she needs to see first. I need to visit her to say sorry and to say goodbye, even though it has been years since I said hello. And of course, she's talking about Gabriella. And now that she's 18, her father can't stop her from having visitors. So this is Birdie's one chance. When she gets there, Mary is there to check her in and is like, okay, so she can't talk. We're working on it. This is like right when she had started in the manor, but she's painting, and that's a way to express her feelings. And this is strange. When she's sad, she paints a wolf. When she's scared, she paints a fox. And when she's happy, she paints a bird. Motherfucker, I called it. They get in the room to see Gabriella. Haven't seen her since she was 8. Now she's 18, and I barely recognize her. But it's clear that when I walk into the room, she does recognize me. She looks in my direction, and the paintbrushes fall to the floor. My face is wet with tears. I shouldn't have come here. But then, despite everything I've been told about her not speaking for 10 years, Gabriella opens her mouth and whispers one word. It's so quiet I can barely hear it, but I didn't imagine it. Mary hears it too and gasps. It's a word I haven't heard for a very long time. Gabriella stares at me and whispers the word again. Mummy. I run to my daughter and hold her, wishing with all my broken heart that I had never let her go. Y'all, how does that work? How does that fucking work? I don't know. I put the puzzle pieces together, but to be quite honest, I don't know how. I still don't understand it. Let's go. So now we're in present day. Carter is still on the other side of the door. And now he starts to hear and Birdie has been like, it's going to be fine. I've got a date with death. You don't need your phone. Don't worry. And then he hears her sobbing because likely she just went through that memory and she's thinking about her daughter. And she goes on this whole soliloquy about how love is a lie and people think that dying is the scariest thing, but actually it's something happening to your child that's the scariest thing. And marriage isn't real and it's never going to succeed and blah, 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 because once upon a time she was married to Harrison. Carter is just speechless. He's like, what the actual fuck? But he's not saying anything out loud. He's just letting her go. She explains that we were married until an accident that happened to our little girl when she was 8. Something got broken that day, and I genuinely thought they would be better off without me. And Carter's like, okay, so you knew who Harrison was the whole time? And Birdie's like, yeah, I did. Carter's like, okay, then who's Eden? Eden was just the hired help. Harrison was a workaholic. I was training to be a detective and trying to be a mother, so we got a nanny. I'm the one who hired her, so it was my fault. In more ways than one. I thought I could trust her, but she ruined my life and took everything I cared about from me. And I didn't even know it until 6 months ago. She made me believe that everything that happened was my fault. And Harrison has mentioned before that he has had multiple affairs. And so the whole fact that Gabriella was out on her own on a bike was because he and Eden were hooking up. So just so you know, Eden moved in as a full-time nanny, and then they got married a couple years later because by that point, Birdie and Harrison had gotten a divorce, and Eden is the step mom. Honestly, Birdie was fine with that. She was like, great, awesome, because she thought the relationship began after the accident, and she was grateful that somebody cared for them because I couldn't. I got it into my head that they deserved someone better than me and that she was it. But then I found out the truth. And Carter is still hung up on the fact that she was married to Harrison. He was like, you?
Damn. I'm sorry.
We built a life together, a home, a child, a dog, and Carter's like, a dog? He's picking up on the weirdest things, but I appreciate it. Harrison isn't the villain in this story. For years, I thought it was me, that Eden was the hero, but I was wrong. She was my husband's wife, the second wife, and she deserved to die. Birdie? Carter asked. Remember, he's still just like in the tunnel, talking through the bookshelf. He's like, hey, Birdie, did you kill Eden Fox? No. I just wish I did. And she keeps going. She's like, yeah, I wish I could go back and do things differently. And Carter's just sitting there like, I wish you could open this door. And so apparently she's been going to the manor pretty often. Like ever since that, for the past 6 months, she's been visiting. Her presence triggered Gabriella's recovery. Every time she would visit, Gabriella would like whisper a new word. And it seemed like that was really healing her trauma, was like getting her mother back. And so eventually, because Gabriella was speaking, she started to piece together the whole Eden Harrison affair. Because for her, for Gabriella, time had not passed in the same way. That's why she recognized me immediately. That's why like everything that happened around the accident is so fresh. And that's why when she's happy, she paints birds because she misses her mummy. Oh. So what's the real story that we learn from Gabriella? Apparently, when they were hooking up the day that Gabriella had the accident, Gabriella didn't go out on her bicycle like she told Eden. She likes to play hide and seek. So she hid in the bedroom wardrobe and she saw what Eden and Harrison were up to. And she basically threatened to tell everybody what she saw. Eden panicked, grabbed a hold of her and pushed her over the banister at the top of the stairs. Gabriella landed on the stone floor. Eden thought my 8-year-old little girl was dead. She left her there for hours. Then, when it was dark, she dragged her broken body outside and left her lying in the road. Put her bike there too to make it look like a hit and run. She called Harrison. Harrison called the police, aka me, his wife, the detective. And I drove straight home in the dark. In the rain. Eden was waiting by the window for me to arrive, and just as I was turning onto the road where we lived, she dialed my phone, which of course I answered, desperate for news about my missing child. I took my eyes off the road to answer her call. The car hit the bike, and I thought I'd hit my daughter. I thought I'd caused my little girl's injuries, but it was the babysitter all along. She stole my life from me, and I stole hers. And Carter's like, okay, so you did kill her. And Birdie's still like, No, by the time I got to the cliff, she was gone. So we still actually don't know what happened to Eden. We planned it carefully. It was supposed to be me that pushed her, but we all wanted her dead. Me, Harrison, and Mary. They're all in it together. Okay. We all love Gabriella and hate Eden for what she did. But Birdie was supposed to be the one who got the final, like she wanted to kill this woman. And someone took that opportunity from her. Maybe Eden did the right thing for the first time in her life. Who cares? She's dead. Is she? We saw the body on the beach, you dummy. Carter's like, yeah, a body with a face you couldn't identify. You don't know that she jumped and the coroner's report is inconclusive. Are you certain Eden Fox is dead? And for a second there, Birdie's like, Carter, I love your line of thought. This is okay. Yep. Carter's like, okay, so first of all, I don't think that's Eden's body. That's weird that you assume that. And second of all, did you or Harrison ever confront Eden about what she did to Gabriella? Birdie was going to at the top of the cliff. She was going to have this be like, I know that you tried to kill my daughter. Shove. Confront her. But didn't have time. So Carter's like, then how can you be sure that's what happened? After 10 years, could Gabriella be misremembering? Could she be lying? How do you know that what she said actually really happened? Bruh. Well, for starters, Harrison didn't deny sleeping with the babysitter that afternoon. And as for Eden pushing her over the banister and staging the accident, why would Gabriella lie about that? She has the mental age of 8. I don't think a child of that age could be capable of coming up with such an elaborate story. Why would she? And then we get to Gabriella's POV. I always liked playing hide and seek. It's my favorite game. At first, I quite liked the policeman who came to visit me at the manor. She is talking about Carter, I believe, but then he started asking too many questions I didn't like. He knew things Daddy didn't want him to know. So when the policeman chased Mary out of the room, so yeah, Carter, I started screaming so that I could get my sleepy pills. When I scream, I always get my sleepy pills. And if they don't give me that, I bite. Sometimes hurting people is the only way to make them listen. So Ingrid, the night nurse, gives her the pills. She closes her eyes, but the pills don't work straight away. Gabriella's like, yeah, the night nurse was an idiot. So she just walks out the front door. And so she goes to hide in Mary's little car. And then once she gets into the trunk, the sleeping pills work and she falls asleep. And Mary didn't notice that she accidentally kidnapped one of her patients. Okay? People seem to think that because I can't speak, it means I can't hear. Nothing wrong with my ears. There's nothing wrong with me at all now, apart from my voice being a little broken. People see what they want to see. Mary taught me that. She talks about how her dad promised that she would get to come live in Spyglass with them. And when she wakes up from her sleeping pills, she realizes that she's at Spyglass. Because remember, Mary had parked her car outside of Spyglass and she's about to get out and run inside because she loves this house. Like her dad was constantly giving her pictures of it. She's obsessed with it. And as she's about to get out of the car, she realizes that her first mummy was at the front door with the policeman. And this is when we learn, like, she knows that her first mummy, aka Birdie, works with the police. Her second mummy, aka Eden, taught her how to paint, which was nice of her, but also happy that she's gone because we don't really like her because she wouldn't let Gabriella stay with them. And she also says, I think Mary wants to be my third mummy, but I'd rather it was just Daddy and me. And sure enough, the person who was like, I love you to the moon and back, that female voice that we heard, Gabriella, she's still in the car. But instead of saying that he loved me too, like you're supposed to, he hit the brakes and the car skidded across the road. Daddy shouted and said some very bad words. So Gabriella started to cry. But then once he put it all together, he was like, oh wait, this actually saves me a trip. I was coming to get you. It's really great that you're already in the car. He was like, we're going on an adventure. It's going to be a big old game of hide and seek. And Gabriella is like, fan-fucking-tastic. I love hide and seek. How did you know, Dad? And I was so happy until he said, Mary was coming too. Eden is gone. Mummy is dying, hopefully soon. So Mary is the only problem left. So she knows that Birdie has cancer and is dying. Her dad told her this, but she wants it to just be Daddy and me. Okay? So she gets really pissed off and she wants to live in Spyglass. God damn it. She's like, where the hell are we going? I want to go to that house. And Mary is also in the car. Gabriella's pissed about this. So she gets out of the car and starts running. Back to Birdie's POV, she's explaining more about why everybody did it, which I think is pretty obvious. And so Birdie wasn't technically pretending about investigating Eden's death. Once Eden went over the cliff and it wasn't any of the three, she really genuinely wanted to know who the fuck stole my thunder, basically. And Carter's like, why are you telling me all of this? And she's like, honestly, you've been asking too many questions and I feel like the only way to get you to stop is to give you some fucking answers, dude. So there you go. And besides, I'm not worried about you arresting me because I'm gonna die. Today's my death day. Whoop, whoop. And Birdie keeps saying, listen, Carter, you're going to walk out of this tunnel and forget this ever happened. And Carter's like, what the hell? Why? And Harrison, Mary, and Gabriella are leaving the country. So she's like, good luck, Chuck. You're a small town police officer. You're not going to follow this. I'm dying today. Why are you not going to go after this? Because Harrison just spent a shit ton of money buying the pub that is your home and obsession, and he's going to put your name on the deed. You're going to own it, and you're going to shut the fuck up. Maddie can continue to run the place. Your parents can move back from Spain, spend more time with you and your daughter. If you agree to our terms, Harrison will pay off the mortgage on your cottage too. And Carter's sort of like, oh, you think you can buy my silence? But he's sort of like, you can definitely buy my silence. And then she proceeds to take all of the pills, all of the painkillers that she has. She's already starting to feel sleepy, like someone is drawing a curtain over my mind. Goodbye, Carter. For what it's worth, I think you're going to make a great detective one day. And then she slips into a surreal dream. A person dressed head to toe as a female skeleton appears at the doorway of the library. Her face is hidden by a mask, so the only real thing I can see are her eyes, which look wide and wild. She's wearing a wig. She whispers, I hate you. So quietly, I almost don't hear it. Oh my God. 10 more pages. Carter's POV. I can't hear anything on the other side of the door anymore. Birdie doesn't reply, even though I say her name over and over. So remember, he's still in the tunnel, right? He starts running. He's a very fast runner, but the tunnel is tiny. So there are some parts where he has to crawl. He doesn't have any light. It is the middle of the night, right? He's just going. Luckily, there are some fireworks on the beach. So eventually he can see a little bit. He hurries across the beach, his feet sinking in the sand. Oh my God, but his poor, I feel like she would have wanted to die next to Sunday. Why didn't she choose to take the sleeping pills back at the pub with her dog? That's sad. Anyway, when he finally loops around, gets back to Spyglass, I turn the corner and run straight into my sister. She's dressed for the parade. And he's like, Maddie, what are you doing here? And she's like, yeah, the power went out. I came up here to get a good view of the fireworks, get some fresh air. And Carter's like, okay, that sounds really weird, but also the view is really nice from here. And she's like, also, you are bleeding like a lot. So can I take you to the hospital? And he's like, no, it's just a bump. You got to go home. I gotta go inside. The front door of Spyglass is open, and he makes his way to the library. Birdie is slumped on the floor, no pulse. He attempts to do CPR, try to bring her back, but it seems like he might be too late. 1 year later, from whose POV? Birdie's. What the hell? Everybody lies. And everybody dies. Those are two of the only things you can be certain of in an uncertain world. Those were the first lines of the book, if you recall. Yeah, so she didn't die. Not when she thought she was going to. I'm in remission. The doctors can't explain it. I don't understand it. But when Carter found me in the library and called for an ambulance and did CPR until they arrived, he saved my life. I was clinically dead for 7 minutes, but they resuscitated me. So in some ways, Thanatos was right. I did die on the day they predicted, but hey, like grandmother, like granddaughter. I'm back from the dead, baby. She and Sunday have moved into Spyglass. She loves living in Hope Falls. She goes on a little run with her dog. It's just like a quaint, beautiful little town, and this is exactly where she wants to be, right? Everybody got their happy ending. Carter got promoted. He and his wife are mortgage-free. His parents are back at Smuggler's Inn. Harrison sold his company and moved to Switzerland with Mary. Gabriella's being properly cared for by people who love her. And I came home to Hope Falls. I'm grateful to have a perfect ending for the story of my imperfect life. I hurry up the garden path to Spyglass and go to put my key in the front door. It doesn't work. It does not fit in the lock. But bada bing, bada boom, the door opens. Can I help you? She asks. I don't speak. I just stand and stare. She's wearing my joggers. My sweatshirt. I didn't say you could wear my clothes. Birdie said. Who do you think you are? She smiles and whispers, I'm Gabriella. This is my house now. My daughter lives with her father in Switzerland and visits me once a month. Sunday adores her. The feeling is mutual. Gabriella's voice is still quiet, but that's the only thing that is about her. We've got a matching sense of humor and tattoos. And Birdie's like, just do me a favor and stop locking the door while I'm gone. It's very safe here. It freaks me out when I can't open the door, okay? Sorry, Mum, she whispers. Every time she calls me that, it feels like my heart mends. You won't leave me ever again, will you? She asks. Never. I promise. Nobody can take her away from me now. Harrison will always take care of us both financially. He loved me once and loves Gabriella more than anything and anyone. He never really loved Eden. She was just my husband's wife. And then we have a last... Oh, I thought this was an epilogue. And then we have one last chapter. I'm so sorry. From the point of view of my husband's wife. It's been a whole year since I ran up that hill to the waterfall. A whole year and still nobody knows the truth. What my husband did broke my heart and changed me. I was going to jump that day at the waterfall. I was so tired and confused I couldn't think straight. But then I saw her standing there with her long blonde hair, the artist, Eden fucking Fox, the slut who seduced my husband. That's actually really fucking funny. The person whose POV we're in runs up the hill, sees Eden fucking Fox, the slut who seduced my husband. I've heard what people in Hope Falls say about me. Everyone thinks I'm just a plain Jane. Jane is the name of Carter's wife, by the way. The wife that he doesn't love. And remember how he kissed Mary? Mary, who looks exactly like Eden. Things to keep in mind. So apparently Jane was about to commit suicide, but then she saw Eden and she was like, oh, fuck no. They think I'm a plain Jane, a pushover. So did Eden. So I pushed her right over the cliff. I'm not stupid. I know Carter only married me because I was pregnant, but does that give other women the right to steal him from me? I don't think so. Apparently, she and her daughter were going to surprise him with lunch one day, and she walked in and saw him smooching on Mary, who looks like Eden. And, well, I took care of that bitch when I bumped into her at the waterfall. She had the nerve to deny kissing him, came up with some crazy bullshit story that it was another woman pretending to be her. But then there's the other one. Olivia Bird. I haven't dealt with her yet. So Birdie has resigned. She's not Carter's boss anymore. Carter doesn't speak to Birdie anymore. Birdie just lives in her little house, runs with her dog. Carter is like, yeah, no. We don't talk anymore, okay? But I know Carter's lying about something. He often can't sleep, like he's got a burden on his mind. And the person who was in the library who was like, I hate you. We thought it was Maddie. It was Jane. Jane came to kill Olivia Bird, but she looked already dead and she left. I'm still watching her. I still might, because I'm not just a plain Jane. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. And I will not let some other woman steal my husband or hurt my family. People always think it's the husband, but sometimes it's the wife. Okay. All right. Hilarious. So, okay. The Jane twist is just kind of funny. Honestly, I wish that we had had more time with Eden because we didn't know enough about her before she died to really feel sympathy for her or not feel sympathy. I just kind of felt nothing about her. There you have it, folks. Was I right? I was not right at the 20% mark. If I had been right about Carter at the 20% mark, you would have never heard the end of it. I would have never shut up about that. But I was wrong. Okay, well, I'm honestly really glad that they didn't pin this on Gabriella because there have just been too many thrillers that tend to use mental illness as they equate certain mental illnesses or certain disabilities with insanity. And I'm just really glad that we didn't go down that route. Yeah, honestly, you know what? It was a fun time. Okay, editing Carrie here. I have sat with the book. I have finished editing this entire video, listening to the plot over and over and over. This doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense at all. Is Gabriella actually lying? Because again, we never actually hear from Eden's POV. How did Mary work as a live-in nurse for 20 years and no one in the village knows who she is? No one recognizes her, so when she comes up with a new identity, nobody bats an eye. Are the villagers actually in on it? There are so many plot holes here. How did nobody know Birdie? They keep talking about how this is such a small town and everyone knows each other and everyone protects each other. She lived there until she was 10. I know kids who went to my elementary school and they moved away once we got into middle school, but I remember them. I know them. It's not like she changed her name. She shares a name with the grandma. How did nobody recognize her? How did nobody recognize Mary? We're just believing Gabriella, especially because the whole beginning part of the book, Birdie is talking about how memory is very faulty and how memory and feelings can change if you really want something, your memory can be manipulated by your feelings to kind of give you what you want. And even Gabriella talks about how sometimes you need to hurt people to get them to listen. And she also said, unless I read it incorrectly and I don't have the book, I'm not going to re-download it, but I'm pretty sure she wasn't super sad that her Birdie was dying from cancer because her whole focus is just being with Daddy. Also, just the rare instance that Mary and Eden happen to look identical, but then why did Gabriella look so frightened when Eden walked in and was like, "You're not my mummy," and then gave her this really creepy ass smile when no one was looking to be like, "Haha, you're fucked." But she doesn't seem scared by Mary. She actually loves Mary. Is this a case of we're actually kind of blaming the child with PTSD and potentially brain damage? The only mystery that is solved is who pushed Eden. That's the only one that I can get behind because Mary and her looked alike. She just mistaken identity. She pushes her off the cliff. I get that. But everything else makes no sense. Why was Maddie up there watching the fireworks? I could go on and on and on. Was it entertaining to read? Sure. I was, especially when I do a live reading reaction. Yeah. But did it make any sense whatsoever? No, it did not. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Bye. I think, out of the 3 that I have read, this would be the Alice Feeney book that pissed me off the least. There you go. Also, the fact that his whole company is based off of this AI algorithm that he knows is bullshit, but he still managed to sell for millions and millions of dollars. Very accurate. Very accurate. I'm glad that Sunday's okay and that Sunday gained a friend because him and Gabriella have hit it off. But yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for being here for it all. Thank you again to Squarespace for sponsoring this. I will be linked in the description box, but you can go to squarespace.com/caricanread to get 10% off of your first website or domain. All right. What are we going to do next month? I don't know. I will see you guys when I see you next. Okay. Thank you. Did you guys get it right? I don't think anyone would get the final twist right. Why did we need to know that the baby's name meant star in Cornish? I don't know. But whatever. Everybody ends up in a happy family. Sorry to Eden. See you next time.